Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to that time of the week. Oh, well, that actually doesn't sound very good at all. Well, you know what time it is. It's T3PO Live. Thank you so much for coming on board today. It's going to be a remarkable show because we got some breaking news right before the show. Apparently, James Bond not in control of the family anymore. Oh, man. That's a big story we can't ignore quite clearly, and it does have implications for theme parks, as Lou astutely pointed out before the show. Speaking of Lou, that brings us on over to our amazing panel today. We've got some amazing people waiting in the wings right now in order to talk about all of the amazing stories that we have, including Rivers of America getting the green light to be destroyed. That's fantastic. Virtual queue ending. Will it possibly come back? Who knows? That's a big question right there. The DAS lawsuit, which we were supposed to cover last week, but we're covering on this show. So there you go. Communicore Hall, more failures there, and just a whole lot more. We've got news from across the gambit when it comes to theme parks. Let's go ahead and get into it right now. But first, let's, without any further ado, let's have on our amazing panel right here. So let's see here. I gotta get my reverb ready because you know it. It's that time. We gotta get on Nolan, Thunder. Oh, wait, hang on here. There we go. Nolan, Thunder.
Your echo was broken.
The intro. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
How are you doing,
I'm
good
pumped,
sir?
everybody. Let's do this thing. Good to see you, Vash.
So good. Good to see you, good sir. And from the ghostly beyond, we have the one, the only LW Ghosts. Lou, let's go.
Have we checked with Guinness? Is this like the first week in I don't know how long as a record setter that we don't have a sewage story?
Yes. That you know what? We have to have like a counter. Or
And
something.
people say we're too negative. I tell you, any day without a sewage leak is a day you can smile on. That's what I say.
Days since last sewage leak. I think that's
Yes,
the
there should be a
appropriate term
sign.
right there. And somebody who knows a lot about maybe the sewage problem going on at Disney, it is the one, the only Ron. What is going on from Follow the Bradley's Fun? Oh, yeah. Oh, he smells
What
it
is
right
that? Oh, no, wait. I'm good. I'm not at Disney. We're good today.
I was going to say, if it isn't Disney, it must be you. My God, that nose hole.
Yeah. Oh, wait. Oh, hold on a second. My gosh, my pants are falling down. Like, this is
Yeah,
horrible.
you know, this Mark
I feel
Hamill
like
wannabe
you-
thing
Oh.
is really...
He's got multiple
you just
issues
are channeling
going
your
on.
inner Mark Hamill. That's all. That's
Oh, that's no good. But you know what is good? Well, it's the one, the only amazing Disneyland historian and archivist. It is Joshua Harris. What is going on there, good sir?
Hello, everyone. We're live, right?
Nice.
That's my alter ego, LC Clinch, by the way.
You know that great Larry Gelbart line from the Picture Movie where George C. Scott is the entrepreneur and he's passing away. And he says, that's how it is in this business, kid. 1 minute you're waiting in the wings, the next minute you're wearing them. So
So LW Ghost wants me to die and join him in the
no.
afterlife.
No. There's not enough room. I haven't finished your room yet. That's
Oh,
room,
okay.
a room with a celestial view or something like that.
I don't know. Let me see. I think somebody has a take on this.
There's no turning
There you
back
go.
now.
Joshua, get ready for the great beyond. No, I'm joking.
Your ghoulish pallor displays
All
an
right.
aroma of the land pavilion.
That's
Anyway.
foreboding. That is
That's
foreboding.
perfect.
Right in the
is
solar
perfect.
plexus, man. My goodness gracious.
It's a lot of foreshadowing, by the way, to stories that we got coming up on both levels, because yes, we do have something in the macabre sphere, maybe.
Yeah.
And maybe it's Death of James Bond. Who knows?
That's the
But
dish
also
they didn't
to
do at Universal.
Communicore.
Corn on the macabre. Anyway,
Going on the oh, that's a good one, Lou.
that would have been good, wouldn't it? I just came.
Get
to me.
over to the Epic Universe, folks, right now. But something maybe not coming to a Universal theme park. I don't know. I don't know what this means. I got to be honest with you. Here we go. This is just breaking right before we went live right here. Amazon MGM Studios announces new joint venture with Michael G. Wilson and Barbara Broccoli for James Bond franchise rights. More clearly, Deadline has the the big one, Amazon MGM Studios shelled out an extra $1 billion plus to take control of James Bond. What's next for the franchise? Huge deal right here. Probably be talking even more about this on Hollywood Backlog with Lou and you, but I kind of wanted to get your initial thoughts because this is some big stuff here.
Guys, I'm excited. Do you realize what this means? This might be the first time we'll ever get to see a strong, independent woman take the role of James Bond. It's such an exciting announcement. Isn't it going to be so great?
I didn't see that. Is KK taking the job?
Did they hire Cynthia Erivo to play Bond?
Yeah, exactly. No, she's going to be Blofeld.
Oh, so do we get Rachel Zegler to play Moneypenny and all that? And we should go down the line.
No, because Moneypenny, I mean, that stalker James is always after her. She can't. That would be weird.
Not if it's Cynthia Erivo.
Yeah, well, she's busy. Why would she step down to that role from the role of God, or goddess, or whatever it is she's playing at the Hollywood Bowl? Anyway,
Jane Bond.
The last we heard from Barbara, who is the daughter of Cubby Broccoli, who with his partner Harry Saltzman basically created the James Bond franchise, was that those idiots at Amazon are a bunch of jerks, and we actually had one of them tell us James Bond isn't a hero, and really nasty things to say. But when you read the release on this thing, whoever wrote her lines has her telling us how wonderful they are and how marvelous they are. And so it's not a question of how much will she take, because now we know $1 billion to go away.
Well, that's the thing, Lou. So we did. I remember hearing that report that the family was pretty against what MGM was proposing, or Amazon MGM, I should say, was proposing for the Bond franchise going forward. Do you think that was maybe frustration from the deliberation process that was actively going on at that time?
Well, the point is, everybody was saying, when's the next one? Who's it going to be? When's the next one? Who's it's going to be? And the reason why it was delayed was until you knew the direction, you didn't know the casting. And no, I think she was perfectly honest last time. And I don't think it was a negotiating ploy by her and her husband. But now, well, Amazon said, we can overcome that. We'll just write a big enough check. And obviously, when it says $1 billion plus, the plus is they're still going to own a piece of whatever Amazon does. And understand, folks, how this happened. It's because Bond had its releasing deal through MGM. And when Amazon bought MGM, they took over that commitment to release the movies. So, because the $1 billion is also selling all the rights in the previous ones to them as well. So that's about home video, and that's about international distribution and a whole lot of other stuff. I think it's interesting to see that at the same time, there was a story today, I think it was, or this week, that Daniel Craig was going to play Sergeant Rock and pulled out of that deal. And I thought, well, that's strange casting. The all-American grunt, everything that Nick Fury was supposed to be, Sergeant Rock actually was in the comics. And they were going to get Daniel Craig for that. That seemed like a mismatch. But who knows? Who knows? All I know is that there was a story you had that we were also looking at, maybe getting ahead of us, but the fact that we're supposed to be hearing very, very soon that Universal's plans in the UK are a go, that they've cleared all the government hurdles. And people haven't heard any details yet as to which IPs will be in that park. And this guy, Jim Schultz, said, well, he's talking about doing a James Bond section. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe that's not going to be welcome. Maybe people are going to basically say James Bond was great when it was, but it's not, and thanks a lot. It all depends on who they cast and how the next movie goes. And if she's not involved, and the Amazon people who said, quote, according to her, we don't think James Bond is a hero, that kind of could spell the end of it after all these many years. Which might be okay, Maybe it's time for all of these long-running franchises to wave goodbye whether it's this or Star Wars or anything.
Yes. Please, God, yes.
And like, can't we think of anything original anymore? Can't we come up with somebody new? I hope so.
There's
feel
just so
like-
many problematic ways of doing this. They've ended up doing a rat's nest with every single IP that has ever existed on the face of the planet right now, where they're always going to be inevitably compared to that which has come before, which is a huge liability, which negates the risk management that they're trying to do, creating all of these sequelizations and reboots in the first place.
Well, and the reason for sequeling and rebooting and whatever is, hey, we've got a built-in audience of people who love the IP. And then the first thing they do is say, yeah, but we're going to make something totally opposite to what it had that made it popular. Because we think that'll appeal to new people more than it will those old fuddy-duddies who still believe in values.
Which means that if you're going to go ahead and you're going to abandon all of the values, ethos, echo, the theme of the original IP, then just make something new anyway. I mean, if you're going to make something that okay, so you're going to use the James Bond name because you have the James Bond recognition for it, but you're not going to put in anything that's relating to James Bond, then why did you need him in the first place?
Well, I guess they think it sells tickets even if it isn't.
I think that honestly, that most of the time with it, I think that the newer executives, newer meaning like in the last 20 years or so, they think that Hollywood and franchises. Well, first of all, they use the word franchise. They're not franchises. McDonald's is a franchise, Sears is a franchise, whatever it is. But they've become so fixated on the fact that when you're dealing with high end clothing, they think that the label is the clothing rather than the clothing being the clothing, and then they just put the label on top of it. So that's where their disconnect is, where I feel that most of it is that they say, okay, if we just put the name on there, then we're going to be fine with this. Well, no, you need to actually have the values and ethics and all of the underlying principles that you have beforehand embedded into that. And then you can go ahead and you can capitalize on the quote unquote IP. So,
well, and then at the same time, they spend big bucks to buy things that are full of great IPs and ignore them. And the example of all examples has got to be Fox. Correct. I mean, if you look at all the great Fox IPs that Disney has scrupulously avoided, everything from, Lost in Space to Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea to Combat to Peyton Place to all those things from the 60s, 70s, and 80s TV shows that Fox turned out. But where are they? They're non-existent. Anyway,
they're so old. That's what you're thinking. It's so old. But I'm just. But meanwhile, the older things actually sell well, and if you package them in a certain way, they're a lot more potent than anything that they're coming up with today. So, that negates their argument of these things being out of date. I'm sorry, but you're out of date. I mean, Lyle of Lucy is still playing in reruns somewhere, sometime, every single day. So,
and by the way, this is Amazon's announcement that we're looking at here of the deal.
Correct.
Isn't it interesting as far as what they think the fandom is most identifying with that idea, that they put Daniel Craig front and center and Connery's just sort of over there on the edge, and the rest of them are kind of, maybes.
It reminds me of what they did to Dean Cain in the Superman. Picture
there you go. There you go. Where they spliced him out. Yeah, exactly. Well, anyway. Let's just say I'm not holding my breath for a great Bond picture to come, because frankly, I think the last one sucked. It really did. So sometimes things just run out of gas for a good reason. And it's been a long, happy run, and it's time to move on. Because look, here's part of the problem nobody's willing to talk about. He's an English agent, and the United Kingdom has lost 99.9% of any clout or importance it had in the world, the more it's given itself over to wokeness as a nation, as a policy, as a government. Mm-hmm. So what's he going to defend? What's he going to fight against? Who are their enemies?
MI6 is definitely not.
Well,
How
now
many-
it's strange credulity because just like, okay, yeah, a British spy. Back then it's just like, ooh, okay, this is going to be intimidating. Now it's just like, well, what are you going to do? You're going to put me in jail for a social media post? Ooh, you don't even have a gun.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
James
Exactly
Bond
right.
and canceled.
How many of these actors
gift.
are still alive? Are there quite a few of them that are still?
Yeah, pretty much.
See, okay,
I
so
think
because I
everybody
had this
but
idea in my
Sean, I
head.
think. Everybody but Sean. No, is
Okay,
Moore.
Is
Yeah,
Roger
Moore
Moore?
is.
Okay, so we get all of the older ones together, and we do a parody, and we just call it Gold Bond. Medicated powder.
It's about a secret plot to contaminate antiseptic powder.
Yeah. with
Antifungal.
social media posts. With
Okay.
inappropriate social media posts. There we go.
Yeah, he comes
Well,
in
Ron,
and the
if
guy's
we're gonna do
sitting
a
there at a
movie-
computer typing, and he says, "That's a negative blog post, and you've had your 6." Bang.
If we're gonna do a movie about James Bond getting canceled, can we get like a controversial artist to do like the song? Like you got to get like Kanye to make a song about being canceled or something like that, or something crazy.
Well, but there's seriously going off of that, Nolan. The whole creation of this character came out of, and the whole idea of the British being the sophisticated spies came out of World War II.
Very true.
Bond, and not just Bond, but all of those spies. Harry Palmer in the counter Bond series of Ipcress File and Funeral in Berlin was in the army and then brought into espionage. So we forget what an impact the World War of 20 years ago still had on England in the 60s. So.
Oh yeah, especially during the Cold War era and all that stuff was.
I mean,
going on.
I
It was a
remember
really
my
big
first
era of
trip to
spies.
London would have been 66, and there were still bombed out holes in the middle of streets and buildings in the middle of London that hadn't been redone. You'd come across certain buildings like even Westminster Abbey, as I recall, that had these water jets pouring on the walls that were slowly washing away the black char from the bombs going off. So.
And that's kind of something, what makes some of these characters so fascinating is how, they were conceived in time periods that reflect the character, and a lot of, directions that these franchises took reflected the feelings of the American people at the time through different generations. We've seen this a lot with like superheroes that have been around for a very long time, and movie monster icons and whatever have you. And I think that shows the problem. I think Lou's kind of hit on the head here, where if you're talking about a franchise that's been around like almost 100 years now, the character no longer reflects the environment anymore because the environment has just changed so much. In the past several years, we've seen lots of craziness, enough once-in-a-lifetime events to get our fine share fill of cataclysms and all that kind of stuff. And why not take that time to base some new material off of, because it's easy to turn on the news and see plenty of kinds of problems going on. Why don't we make some new creations so that way when things such as a James Bond come back, it's going to be such a great, oh, look at the retro style, how different it is. We never see that anymore, as opposed to we get it every 5 years and it's like, well, that's just how movies are, and we're bored of seeing the old style of England. It's the Hollywood needs to adapt, and they won't.
Nolan, we've had all the spoofs to do that. We've had Austin Powers, and we've had, all of the Bond takeoffs, Our Man Flint, everything.
Yeah,
Uncle.
baby. Yeah.
Most people don't realize that Uncle, Napoleon Solo, is the name of the guy that gets crushed in the car by Oddjob in Goldfinger. So because Fleming collaborated on that a little bit. Anyway.
Yeah, plus in real life, where in the Bond movies you had Octopussy, we had the Octomom. So that was sort of a that's not quite the same, but it was sort of, I connected it.
The reason it's not the same is you don't have Louis Jourdan pronouncing it Octopussy. 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 You must not do that.
Oh boy.
Anyway,
we
we can do this
so
all day.
demonetized right here.
But,
Yes. I think we should put a pin in this conversation right here because there's a lot more to talk about with Bond.
Anyway, let's just say nobody with any sense is holding their breath for the next movie, or who's going to play him anymore, or any of the rest of that stuff that we've been thinking about for quite a while now.
Right.
They've killed the expectations with this. So,
indeed. Let me go ahead and get to some super chats real fast because we had a couple come in on this specific subject. Before moving on here, we have Ken Reinhardt with the $2. They sold Bond to Spectre. Bezos looked the part. Oh, nice. Pretty good, Ken. I like it. And Jonas A. Campbell actually coming in here and gracing us with an amazing $10 super chat. Very much appreciate that, sir. $1 billion is a lot of money. Here's 10.
hey, Jonas, that may not be broccoli, but it's cabbage, and we'll take it.
Indeed. Oh boy. All right. Well, I guess.
And for those who wondered, yes, their family really did invent broccoli way back when by crossbreeding a few things.
Wow.
And now it's being used for Tiana. So isn't that wonderful?
That's right.
There you
I
go.
was waiting for
There
the
you
Tiana joke, Ron. You just came right in there at the perfect time. I love that.
I was trying. I didn't have anything really good. I was trying to think of something better, and it just wasn't coming to mind.
Well, kale and farewell to that topic. But anyway.
And Kaylin, farewell. Well, I guess it's time to get to our lead story here. Let's go ahead and take it from the top, everybody. Here we go. So you'll recognize a couple of these headlines here because we've covered them on That Park Place and T3PO Live, where apparently the Rivers of America demolition project has been. Well, it hit a stall a couple of months ago because the permit application process that Disney did submit not only to SFTA but also to the South Florida Water Management District was rejected, at least initially, and they were provided, I believe, was it 30 days to resubmit and refile? I believe it was a kind of an expedited timeline. It wasn't quite what Disney wanted, and we were all kind of waiting on pins and needles because, well, this is a very unpopular project with the fans. We were all kind of like, okay, perhaps, maybe, possibly, this whole project might get upended by the state if, in fact, they put their foot down and said, no, we're not going to let you do this. Well, unfortunately, didn't quite come to pass. As we now know, February 18th, on That Park Place, Walt Disney World receives permit to bulldoze Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer's Island. Will move forward with controversial Cars expansion despite fan outcry. This is really, really unfortunate. Disney has officially received approval from the South Florida Water Management District to begin construction on a new Cars-themed land at Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom, a move that will erase classic attractions like Tom Sawyer's Island and significantly alter the Rivers of America, Frontierland, and Liberty Square. Permit issued February 17, 2025, gives Disney the green light to modify 407 Basin Stormwater System, impacting 61.93 acres of wetlands and surface water. Disney has promised to mitigate these environmental impacts through credits from the Disney Wilderness Preserve and Mira-Lago sites. Fans aren't buying the corporate doublespeak.
You say Mira-Lago, I say Mar-a-Lago. Let's call the whole thing off.
Exactly. I like that a lot right here. Now, a word before I hand it out to our panelists because they are just itching to talk about this story, I am sure. One thing, though, okay, and let's just, make this clear, known to everybody, including those in the back. This is not an expansion. It's a replacement, okay? I don't want to hear the word expansion. Replacement. But there you go.
That's what I said when I saw all that food for Epic Universe. I said, it's not going to expand my waistline. It's going to replace.
Oh boy. And I reposted your post with the I would say it's neither expansion or replacement. I call it ruination, and I believe my post got quite a bit of traction. I was kind of surprised, but it was like mine and yours together. So this is the ruination of Magic Kingdom. And for the people that don't think so, for the people that saying, "Oh, you guys are just being old fuddy-duddies. We want new things, and we're okay with replacing this beautiful, beautiful area that represents the American frontier, that represents by the way, rivers of America is so important because our nation could not have been built as it is without our river systems. We have probably one of the world's greatest river systems in the United States, and that's what Rivers of America represents. The Mississippi, the Missouri, the Ohio, that system being smack in the middle of the United States allowed for westward expansion, allowed for all kinds of things.
Ron, it's funny you mentioned that because I was just watching a geography video on YouTube yesterday talking about why the center of Africa never got developed much. And the reason was that although they're all the big rivers, none of them go to the ocean. Whereas our central river system, both in Louisiana and up through the Great Lakes, is connected to the ocean, which means it's open to international trade. Most people don't know where the word Dixie comes from as meaning the South. When the riverboatmen and the keelboatmen would take a cargo down the Mississippi, in those days, there was no central bank, and the banks issued their own money, and the ones in Louisiana issued $10 notes. D-I-X, D in French means 10, and they'd say, I'm going down south to get me some Dixies, and that's where Dixie came from. But of course, to cite all of the historical reasons why it's so important is to say that it's connected to our values, and Disney doesn't like those very much lately either, do they?
Well, sure. If Captain America doesn't represent America, then how could the Rivers of America represent our values? It's crazy. And for those people who are saying that kind of thing, I would say that a portion of the word Dixie is a good thing to call them. I'm not happy.
No, really, the ultimate answer to people who say that is, so build it behind it. So build it around
right.
it. We just got told they have room for 7 lands or 7 parks or 7 somethings. But of course, that would mean they'd have to spend the money to do what they did originally, which is bring in infrastructure and adjust water tables and have power and water and stuff. But, we shouldn't spend money on that. My God.
By the way, and I've seen this area drained before, and it looks god awful when it is drained.
Well, when they drained it at Disneyland, at least to build Galaxy's Edge behind it, they put up these big canvas sort of photorealistic murals across both ends to make it look like it was going off into the distance, and that wasn't real convincing either. So, well,
this is very unfortunate. Obviously, there's an amazing history related to the rivers of America, and that's why it's represented in such a way that it is on both coasts. By the way, you got to remember, back when Disneyland opened, Frontierland was like a third of the park. I mean, it was a huge presence, and some of that obviously has its origins in how popular the cowboy or western genre actually was back in that day, and it provided gangbusters business for Disneyland. And so obviously they were looking to replicate at least some of that out there in Walt Disney World. I think the Rivers of America, I mean, it's not really a castle park without it. I mean, look, Shanghai Disneyland, it's big, it's grand, it's nice, but without a train, without a river, without those essential concepts that make a castle park like that, I don't know. It just doesn't resonate just as much. And so when I think about getting rid of this, I think it's just absolutely abhorrent. But I know somebody on this panel has a lot to say about this project right here. Joshua, come on, you've been a little bit quiet there. What do you think about all of this and the importance the Rivers of America has on Magic Kingdom?
Well, I'm looking at the way in which everyone's been discussing this and the historical value, the thing that it's connected to Walt, the importance of it in those contexts, and that's all great. And I, of course, as a historian, profoundly support that. However, that means absolutely nothing in the grand scheme of things when you're dealing with the world's most popular park. And fortunately, though, all of that historical data can be backed up with hard financial and attendance data. We have had two major transformations of theme parks inside of Walt Disney World in the past 5 or 6 years. Both of them have gone horribly. Not just horribly in the way of aesthetics, which is the most important part, by the way, although it's not something that can be easily measured, but it's been catastrophic for their attendance levels, which means that it's catastrophic for the bottom line, which means that if you're going to transform yet another park, this is going to be catastrophic for you on a financial level, which I thought was what we try to avoid as companies on the planet. I thought that losing money was a bad thing. You look at the way that they did with Epcot, you look at the way that they did with the studios. The studios had massive amounts of investment. There are 2 brand new lands in the back and no one cares at all about them, because, and when I say no one cares, you can look at it, you can look at the actual attendance figures. Both of those parks have been in severe decline since their transformation, since they've went against the values and the dedications that they have on their dedication plaques. So you have that going on with it. Then you have, so I look at this, and some people might initially think that I'm crazier, that I'm hyperbolic when I'm saying this, but the destruction of the rivers of America will start a chain reaction for all of the Walt Disney Company to completely collapse. Now, on its face, what I just said might sound extraordinarily absurd to you, but if you consider the fact that they've made the park's experience extraordinarily expensive with very little value that's associated with it, that comes from all of those additional charges, and then you look at all of the hoops that you have to go through on your cell phone while you're trying to be immersed in historical lands and trying to enjoy your vacation, but no, you're completely stressed out because you're not sure if you're going to get the right lightning lane, and oh my God, I have to spend twice as much inside of the park that I did beforehand, and they've taken away all of this value and all of these things that we used to get for free, and everything's just stressed out. But you know what? That's okay, because at the end of the day, it's the Magic Kingdom. It's still the place that we can go, that we can experience the things that we did when we were children, and the things that our grandparents experienced and that they loved as well, and that they foot the bill for a lot of these vacations anyway. So but if that does no longer exist, if you take out the one piece of tranquility in this otherwise extraordinarily populous park, you're going to incur massive amounts of brand disloyalty, if you want to call it that way, because you will be, in essence, removing the Magic Kingdomness of the Magic Kingdom. And while Walt Disney World can survive with a endangered Animal Kingdom, as it will be right now, and a Epcot without a center, and studios without a dedication to classic Hollywood, it cannot survive without the Magic Kingdom being the Magic Kingdom. And when you do this with this, what will happen with that is that because this is the anchor park, this is what everyone knew in the 1960s. Everyone was, Walt was completely gung-ho about going ahead with Epcot, and he could care less about the Magic Kingdom. And everyone on the staff said, no, we're going to need to build Disneyland East first. Otherwise, you're never going to get this Epcot thing taken care of. So even then, they knew about the enormous, the crucial asset that they would have, even way back then, even against the wishes of the founder of the company, to be able to do this. Of course, it was the wisest decision to do it, and because 30% of the revenues of this company stems largely from this division and this park, that if you take that out, there will be no more money for you to devote to all of your ridiculous streaming ventures and all of your movies that no one wants to see. There won't be any of that, Bob. There won't be anything left for you to do with that. So how can we avoid this and everything? First of all, I was just talking with somebody yesterday. Oh, actually, it was the day before that. And they gave me some of the insider information about what's been going on with the executives. So you have 3 executives there. And let me explain 2 first before and how that actually works. When you're dealing with a expansion project of this size and everything, there's actually very little that's involved with Bob Iger. Because Bob Iger is, well, first of all, he's not interested in the parks whatsoever. Secondly, he delegates a lot of his power and authority to the people that are underneath him in those divisions. So it's mostly a decision that's going to be made by so-called Josh, tomorrow, and then it's also going to be Jeff Valley. So Jeff and Tomorrow is completely fixated with the Cars IP. He just really loves the Cars IP for some reason. And also, during his extraordinarily short tenure, he has nothing to hang his hat on because no actual project has been made or created underneath his watch. So he really wants to get something done because he wants to feed his ego and he wants to feel important and everything else about that one. So you have that. Then you have Jeff Volley. Jeff Volley, from what I've gathered from the internal conversations that I've received about this, or the insider ones, not the internal ones, is that Jeff Volley is basically Chapek on steroids. He really is obsessed with profits and not necessarily the bottom line, but just accumulating the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time. And that's all that he really cares about with this. Well, it's just like, as I already described and everything, if you transform this, you're going to have enormous financial downsides with it. So yeah, it's that guy right there. Yes, that is Chapek 2.0.
And Jeff Volley is the current president right now at Walt Disney World
Correct.
Resort.
Yeah, and he will. Yes. Sorry, and he will be the one. He is going to be the ultimate person who decides whether or not Rivers of America is destroyed. And yes, there has been the permit release on that. However, that just means that the state won't stand in the way, or that specific division of the state management won't stand in the way of Disney World committing suicide on itself. So you have that going on. And another interesting thing about it is that the Imagineers don't even want this. The Imagineers that are working on this project are profoundly unenthused. They have been already submitting proposals where they want to do something very similar to what they did with Galaxy's Edge, where they're just like, okay, we're not going to completely eliminate the river. We'll keep the front half, and then we'll go ahead and we'll demolish the rest of it. That way we're able to maintain the look and the feel of actual Frontierland without destroying the whole entire thing. And there's still plenty of land for us to develop. We don't have to do this. So even the Imagineers who are working on it are completely unenthused about it. And the company itself is extraordinarily, they are scared about this project because of largely what I have been doing, which is the Save Magic Kingdom campaign of letter writing. And I use letter writing in a sort of an old timey way. I mean, there is the guest communications team that is about this, and this is why this is why I said beforehand that I'm going to be what the outside world would assume is basically. I'm breaking an NDA with this because I'm going to be sharing with you some insider information inside the company. So people like to say, but Joshua, this didn't work with Splash Mountain. But Joshua, we tried that with this. We tried that with that. I'm like, no, you didn't, because you didn't have the email. And that might sound extraordinarily simple to you, but I'm telling you from very personal experience, I have people that worked very, very closely with the guest communications team, and I know exactly how the letter writing process works. When you submit your email, and you can find one of my tweets on there if you want to go ahead and look it up with this. When you submit your email, what happens with that after that? They send you basically an automatic response. It's just like, yeah, we got your message. We'll go ahead and we'll get back to you with that. When it goes through that, they have 7 days in which to reply. They already draft they do a first draft of the reply to your letter, and then that is sent to one of the leaders in the department. When the leadership in that department approves of that, then it goes out to you, and it's going to be a form letter Disney is never going to say to you, oh, okay, yeah, we get it. We'll go ahead and we'll backtrack. My bad. No, they'll never actually say that. What they'll say is just like, we try to create all these experiences, and we're always trying to redevelop ourselves, blah, 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 blah. But we do take your information very seriously, and we will share that with the people involved. That is the only part that you need to take that needs to be of interest to you, because what happens after they, in a way, blow you off with
your call is very important to us, so please stay on the line.
Exactly.
Indeed.
Yeah. So when they blow when they say that and everything, what happens behind the scenes is I already know that they already have a document, electronic document that is already been prepared about this, and where you go down is another another niche on the anti-removement, the anti-cars essentially pile of things. And then what happens after that is that every single week, these numbers are sent directly to the VP. So the VP of Magic Kingdom in this case, and it's going to be sent to Jeff Volley. Most of the time, they're actually in the same building as that department, and they do take these things seriously. And let me give you an example of this. When I was working in a particular division of the company, there was a area. I'm trying to be a little bit more abstract about it, but there is an area of one of the locations that I was working at that was so small and so underutilized that we only kept it staffed until 2:00 in the afternoon. And we really didn't need anybody after that. It was very self-sufficient. There was no reason to ever change it. It had been that way for 40 years. There's no reason to change it then. Well, one guest letter came through, and a guest was incensed that no one was there at that particular location to assist them at that time. This was one guest letter that did this. As a result of that one guest letter, they said they decided that they were going to add a second shift of cast members there. That on certain levels is about a $50,000 to $60,000 a year increase of operational cost. In addition to that, they also made several changes to the nighttime service that was offered there. And that amounted to somewhere in the neighborhood of $100,000 to around $100K increase for the operational cost for that too. So so they permanently increased the operational budgets to somewhere around $150K per year because of one guest letter. And I'm serious as a heart attack. I'm not being hyperbolic about that. It was literally one letter that did that. So if you can imagine that one letter did that, where they increased the money for that, and you have people that are writing in for Save Magic Kingdom, who say that who are in the hundreds, hopefully, or even in the thousands, you could definitely take this whole entire project down tomorrow. And especially if you get the high-end people involved, which I've already got a couple of those people already fired up over this. There's definitely still a possibility of them canceling this project. And they've done that before. And they've done, this is not something that is uncommon. Does anybody remember the Main Street Theater? And the Main Street Theater is actually a very good indication about that. First of all, I thought that was a horrible idea anyway, just from an operational issue. So I was very happy to see that ridiculous theater concept go away. But that's just me. What would happen in that case? What happened in that case, and what will happen in this case if we are successful, is that this project will just literally disappear. They won't talk about it. There will be no victory party for us, unfortunately. But the victory will be just we are able to maintain the Magic Kingdom. We are able to maintain Walt Disney World, and we're able to safeguard the employment of over 70,000 cast members and over 100 to 200,000 people in Central Florida that are secondarily entirely dependent upon the Walt Disney Company to do this, which is the reason why I have engaged the governor with this, and I originally engaged the governor on it on environmental grounds because this was let's just say it's pre-November 6th. Where in a pre-November 6th world, the way that you get any governmental body to respond is that you bring up the environment, which is still definitely a cause for concern. But there was also the secondary reason, and this one's actually more important, more concrete, which is of course, the economic impacts of this, which would be profound for Central Florida, if not for all of Walt Disney World. There are 4 governors of this state which have said, which stated categorically that the most important, the 3 most important events in Florida history was the signing of the Magna Carta, the creation of air conditioning, and Walt Disney World coming to the state.
Absolutely.
So, and that's a direct quote from them. I'm not. It's those 3 things. You know, it's just basically the land acquisition, the carrier air system, and Walt Disney coming there. So, but meanwhile, this state will be destroyed economically by Californians, which have no interest whatsoever in the longevity of this enterprise if this goes forward. And if this goes forward, then it's really horrific. This is very Black Mirror. This is very black pilled, because it ends up going down to the part where, on the smaller end of it, I just become a historian who talks about things that don't exist anymore, and shows like this maybe we'll move on to other things. Maybe WDW Pro will have to strip out his name because pick a name that's more relevant. There won't be any financials for Valiant Renegade to go over. There won't be any discussion over what superhero films are good or bad. No, all of that stuff will just completely disappear in the next 3 to 4 years, 5 years, and then you'll be left with nothing. But there is a way to avoid this, and the way to avoid it is to use the email that I sent on there and use your own words. Please be short. Please be concise. And for God's sake, do not do a positivity sandwich. And what that means is that this is a psychological ploy, but it actually has been disproven to work. Although people in corporations love to use it all the time, which is to say to you, hey, Ron, you've done an amazing job here. I really appreciate all of your dedication. By the way, it would be really great if you would never slap another guest again. That would be good. But other than that, you're doing great. Other than that, you're doing fine. Well, the problem with that is that if Ron is super intelligent, he knows about the positivity sandwich, and he's going to be profoundly pissed off with you because you used it on him and thought that you could use that stupid Jedi trick on him. If he is stupid, which we know that this Ron is not stupid, but if we play like he is stupid, then all he's going to hear is that, oh, I was great beforehand, and then they had something weird to say in the middle, and then it was great at the end. So when you're doing your email, say that you are displeased with this, say that it will severely impact your decision on whether or not to ever return to Walt Disney World again. And I've had a lot of people that have said that to me. If this goes through, it's over for many, 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 many people. So do that, keep it short, and you will get a form letter. It will be a blowback, but as I've already described to you, your voice is being heard. And as long as we have enough voices who are being heard about this, we can stop it, because I've given you the magic bullet, and I was almost terminated the first time that I tried to do this because that's how powerful that email address is. And that's the reason why I'm telling you all this right now. And there is some danger with this as well, with me disclosing this. And I'm hoping that you don't figure out what it is that I'm also telling you about that email at this point. But just for now, let's work on the Magic Kingdom. Let's safeguard that.
Can we add a PS that says, by the way, my relatives who are going to die within the next 5 years have made express conditions in their will that I cannot spend the money to go to Disney World if you do this.
That would work.
Yes.
If it's true, go ahead and work with it. One last thing. One last thing. I will say this too is that I already have people that are talking that are trying to get meetings with the governor over this. And for those who say it's just like, well, you can't get the government involved with this. I'm like, well, if you're severely impacting the employment of tens of thousands of Floridians, yeah, you can get the government involved. And really, all it takes is him just going ahead and saying, Hey, Bob, we hear about this thing that you're doing with the Rivers America. We would really like you not to do that, because if you do that, we might need to look into some stuff that you're doing. We might need to call some people that are really powerful in Washington right now. Just letting you know about it, okay? And Bob will back off, and he will tell Jeff Volley to pound sand, as well as Josh Jamar.
So that address is actually in the chat right now. So that people can actually use that if they, hey, might as well do anything at this point. This is very destructive to Magic Kingdom for the reasons outlined beautifully by Joshua. And I think Walt Disney World is going to be in a world of hurt if they go forward with this. Now, on a spreadsheet, all this stuff makes sense, right? It's like, and I think somebody actually in the chat, let me go ahead and see if I can get that up here. Jim T, insurance risk. It might be. I know that a lot of interactive areas and playgrounds at Disneyland had to be modified because of insurance risks attached to them. So that could be a possibility. But I know right now Disney spends a lot of maintenance and a lot of time maintaining both Tom Sawyer's Island and Liberty Bell and the river. I think it still leaks because it's still not a concrete basin. I think it's kind of the clay mixture that they had back in the 1970s right there. There are a lot of issues related to the Rivers of America, obviously, no question, right? And so it's like, okay, well, we can maximize this area and put all these people in here, provide a big e-ticket. And now we have new demand for our park, and we also open up access to the back end. Makes a lot of sense from that standpoint. From a guest perspective, this is a terrible and horrible decision. And I don't think it's that crazy to say that if they destroy the Magic Kingdom in this way, that has a knock-on effect of really doing some real damage to the company. I think that's very, very accurate here. So, hey, at this point, we just gotta, I don't know, if there's something we can do, maybe you do it. But
the other thing is just looking
Please.
ahead. Just looking ahead, it's very clear that over the last decade, especially, maybe even more than that Disney has not been good at reading the room. They had a good idea for Galaxy's Edge in the beginning, and then they ruined that. I'm hoping that this project goes the way of the Play Pavilion, which, if you know what that is, it did not go forward, and it just kind of sits there. I think they're using it as office space right now, which is really weird. But it's just this whole thing is it's demented in a way. And what I mean by them not reading the room is, it's like if you handed Disney a crystal ball right now, it's like it's a black crystal ball and they can't see anything because they are not looking. They're clearly not reading the room of what's going to happen in the future. While you look at the Universal company, and while there's been a misfire or two with Universal over the last decade, Fast and Furious, I'm looking at you. They Epic Universe and the expansions that can come from Epic Universe, they are going to be, despite what any super diehard Disney fan might say or think, it will pull business away from the Magic Kingdom. It will pull business away from just the whole princess thing. Like, Disney ruined their own princess brand by having princesses that don't want princes in their life. Like, those two things go together. A prince and a prince and a princess go together. Like, little girls, they want that. They want that. That's part of the dream. There's not a whole lot of little girls. Like, you look at the 5, 6, 7-year-olds. I don't see a lot of them going, boy, do I want to be a girl boss when I grow up. I mean, not at that age. It probably does happen in the teens, but not at that age, not at the princess age. So you look at that and then you compare that with what they're doing over at Epic Universe by building things like How to Train Your Dragon, by building things like the Nintendo Land. And you get a wider age range that you're attracting, plus you're getting this nostalgia bait of people like me. I mean, when did Donkey Kong first come out? I believe it was early 1980s. Mario Brothers, the Super Mario Brothers, all of that stuff came out a long time ago, but kids still love it today. And Disney doesn't have a lot of that anymore. Mickey Mouse, whatever. I mean, kids don't. He just doesn't have the power to pull like he once did. So, by destroying this, I think Josh is absolutely right. I think they are literally destroying the company, and it's really weird to watch a company like Disney implode at their own hands. It's not the guests doing this. The guests want something different, and we shouted it to the rooftops. But Disney, they're going to implode at their own hand, and that's weird. weird.
So there's a couple things that I think I'd like to address with that and everything. First of all, I was just on a show a couple days ago. It was a Joe Rogan length show. It was just an interview for 3 hours or everything, which is perfect for me because I just love that. But I was talking about the discourse that we have on Epic Universe. And I understand that there are a lot of people who are very enthused about it. However, when we're talking about we always seem to default to in the conversation to, okay, Disney is sucking right now and Epic Universe is going to kick your ass. Okay, so that's not that. I don't think that that's really the proper framing for this. First of all, when you look at what Epic Universe is going to do, if you actually look at the way in which Universal parks operate, first of all, there's going to be enormous barriers to entry. When you go inside the park, that you're going to have to buy a 3-day ticket at first. You will not be allowed to go in there underneath the 1-day ticket. You will be forced to go to Islands and the Studio Park, or just to be able to go over to Epic for 1 day. So, and they're doing that to mitigate the crowds with it. Secondly, even if that is no longer a barrier, and I can't say that it's going to be a barrier for longer than 12 months, I'll actually be shocked if they go more than 6 before they start relinquishing that out and they just let people go inside the park. They will only pull roughly around 10 to 12 million people per year. But that's not going to be like most people are thinking, which is so Magic Kingdom, which hovers around like somewhere between 17 and 19 million per year. And then you have Epic Universe, which is going to be there for around 10. It's not as if they're going to flip tables and then Epic Universe is going to have 19 million people and Magic Kingdom is going to be left with 10. That's not going to be how this happens. But that's that's well beyond the other issue with this. When you're looking at this, what I hear and I'm sorry, I'm going to be a little bit more leftist in my analogies right now, but when I hear people talk about this, it's just like, okay, Disney is going down, but Epic Universe is going to be amazing. What I hear is that if you were to pretend right now that we are in 2019 and that rather ominous and dark omen too of seeing Notre Dame Cathedral burst into flames, and everyone is noticing the horror of that. And then you have somebody that's a news commentator from one of the major networks come on and say, well, it's fine. There's other cathedrals in Europe. There's no reason crying over this. We can do without Notre Dame de Paris. They don't need another one right there. They've got plenty of them everywhere else. Losing Walt Disney World and losing the Walt Disney Company as a thriving enterprise is categorically a tragedy. Full stop. Period. End of sentence. End of paragraph. News story. So I'm not saying that I should gatekeep, and I'm not saying that, go ahead with everyone's discourse about that, but I just need people to keep that in mind. It's just like this is not Coke versus Pepsi. This is a piece of art. This is the greatest cultural institution that existed in the 20th century, and it's currently being destroyed by people who have so much apathy for it that it defies my powers of explanation.
Well,
and it's also one of the symbols of the country. Let's not forget that too. Foreign travelers come to America to experience Disney World because they don't have that 100% experience like that in their own country. So if you get rid of Disney, as cheesy as it sounds, you lose a piece of America. Let that sink in.
No. And that's what makes us totally sad and tragic, is that we don't have people in charge of Disney who care about it as much as we do. Like that's the truth. Like we're not saying that we want anything bad to happen to Disney World. We would love to be able to preserve the magic, is what we're saying, and we care about it. And I think we care about it more than some of the people that are in charge.
And by the way,
oh please,
there is a comparison to be made to our previous story. James Bond was to England that kind of long-running cultural definitional piece of art, wasn't it? And when the country became irrelevant to that ideal, the IP died, or it seems like will die. Really, it's a very, very strong comparison if you think about it, as far as longevity and symbolicness and all the rest of it.
I agree.
And the proof of this, I've told this story before, and I'm going to tell it one more time. When I took my parents to Epcot for the first time, the only time, and they were interested, and they had obviously taken me to Disneyland since I was 3 years old. But the American Adventure, my old man, who was not an overtly religious man or an overtly artistically oriented man. He was a manufacturer. He was in the Navy, sure, but that was World War II, And as we walked out of there, he turned to me and he said, that was a religious experience, the American Adventure. If the people in charge don't understand that, it explains everything. And if the people in charge don't understand that, they shouldn't be in charge.
Yeah, if I could just touch base on that, I mean, you're absolutely right. I do believe that the American Adventure should be a UNESCO site. It really it is an amazing achievement, not just from a technological achievement, which I've gone to greatly appreciate recently, as I've gotten some wonderful assets from that, and it really is a religious experience. I remember distinctly. I went into the parks for what I think was my last time, probably last October, early October. And I accidentally, not intentionally, but me and my mom accidentally rope dropped the American Adventure. And we were just sitting there in the theater. And unlike what they do normally, which is just like you sit in the theater and you wait there for literally a minute and a half before they actually start the show, they were trying to get it going because people were slowly coming in. And I'm sitting there thinking that I'm probably going to watch the show in person for the very last time. And I said a prayer. I'm just like, thank you, God, for let us having this. This is a beautiful thing for people. And this is a beautiful way to tell this story. And if you know how Randy Bright created this story, it's enormously impactful.
Yeah.
And really it stems from the fact that, like most people are completely unaware of the fact that Walt Disney saved this nation, saved this planet twice over in his lifetime. He was the one who personally financed Victory Through Air Power, which got the U.S. government to devote most of its resources to long-range bombing techniques, which is what saved us in World War II. He was the one who spearheaded the Science Factual series, which led to the NASA program, which led to us landing on the moon, which led to the destruction of communism. We owe it. We owe so much of our country and so much of our world to Walt Disney and his organization. And it goes from him all the way down to Michael Eisner, which reinvigorated the company in ways unimaginable. And we really need to do as much as we can to preserve and protect that.
Yeah. And when you talked about science and Walt, one of my favorite lines from the original Imagination show was when you go into that room and Dreamfinder says, "And what about science?" Because the whole "if you can dream it, you can do it" of Horizons is no scientist who's worth a damn hasn't got an imagination, because you're imagining things that What happens when those guys say, well, wait a minute, what if instead of just letting them crash into the sea, we have these chopsticks that pick the boosters out of the sky and put them back on the ground and we can use them again? What an imagination that takes beyond, okay, now how do we make it happen? What a huge imagination that takes. And meanwhile, the other guys that are working for us on our dime are imagining outreach to cultures and I don't know what. Anyway, we could go on about all that forever, but I won't. I promise.
Profoundly important, the institution of Disney that is, and yes, I think it should
and
be
look,
preserved.
as far as Epic is concerned,
Mhm.
as far as I'm concerned, aside from not really planning for it, not really saying how we're going to top it, not really letting those great creatives go in the first place for political reasons or cultural reasons or whatever reason they had. Do you know what the most powerful thing they did that is going to destroy them regarding Epic? Getting rid of Magical Express. For God's sakes, if you can't figure out that keeping people on your property and unable without a huge expense of renting a car or taking an Uber or whatever to go check out that thing is a big deal and worth whatever it costs you, when every dime they spend on a Coke or on a lunch or on a souvenir has to be on your property because they can't get to the other place, well, then all you have to do is look at Weston, who right next door to the hotel that just opened, building a 2,000-seat arts venue in their hotel. Why? Because everybody from there and from the convention center can walk to it. Okay?
It is.
They figured it out. They figured out that proximity is power, but not Disney. And Disney used to know these things. It was part of their corporate culture. It was part of their it was what they taught the rest of the world. Everything from how to make fast food work to how to make audiences work to, but somehow, if they just forgot, if the Men in Black came down and waved the magic pen in front of them and blanked their brains, that would be one thing. But they aggressively said, nah, that's those old farts. That's those guys who they didn't know anything. And Berry Place, bring me one too.
Hang on. We gotta get these guys in here. We have Barry Place 28 and Per Oswald joining us as well. Hello there, everybody. Woo, man.
Hi guys.
Half calf, decaf, latte, watte, poopy, doopy. Oh, I know, just a cup of coffee. Damn it.
You said you wanted a half-calf decaf with a double twist lemon, right? That's
Lemon?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Come on, do you know what movie that's from? Come on, Lou.
No, I
Half
don't.
calf decaf with double twist lemon.
Heard that.
Steve Martin, L.A. Story.
Oh, well, okay. I know the first time I ever saw lemon related to espresso was that in the original Shaft, he used to order it that way, and I think they called it an espresso romano or something. So, but I'm old. I remember these things. How the heck are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm getting by with a little help from my friends. And Brer Oswald.
Yes, sir.
I see you're here for a limited time, so make the most of it. Go ahead.
I'll
Your
try.
turn to rant. What do you got to rant about?
What are we ranting about right now?
Everything.
Don't ask.
You give me a
Don't
topic.
ask. Better
But,
to exclude the things we aren't rather than ask for a list of the things we are. So
Yeah, there is something I got to feature on here for sure. But before I get to that, I have to feature somebody who has been very, very generous right now. Super chatting us. Here we go. Mary White with $5. In lieu of my first super chat on the post show, nice. Hold thy tongue and seize my shillings. That's my polite way of saying, quote, shut up and take my money. Nice. Very much appreciate that.
That's awesome. Love that.
Thank you so much, Mary White.
thank you,
You've been
Mary.
Absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for all the support.
Thank you, Mary, for
all
being
that we
quite uncontrary. Let's put it that way.
Nice.
That's funny.
Okay, so we were gonna cover it last week. Got to cover it this week. This is a big story right here for sure. Man, we've been covering DAS, or the Disability Access Service, a lot on That Park Place and T3PO, and we've always been saying, this sounds like a lawsuit in the making. Well, apparently, somebody did make that lawsuit. Here we go. That Park Place. Disney hit with class action lawsuit over disability access service policies that alleges mistreatment of disabled people at the theme parks. February 11, 2025 by Marvin Montanaro. Walt Disney Parks and Resorts is facing a major class action lawsuit over controversial changes to the Disability Access Service, or DAS, a system designed to assist guests with disabilities at Disneyland and Walt Disney World. The DAS lawsuit, Malone versus Disney, was filed in Orange County, California, and alleges that Disney, along with its contract medical screening partner, Inspire Health Alliance, we'll get back to that one, folks, is engaging in discriminatory practices and that violate multiple federal and state disability laws. The lawsuit alleges Disney is violating the ADA and the Unruh Civil Rights Act. So here's
And
the
if
thing.
that sounds familiar, we might remember there's a certain lady named Carano who's involved with the Unruh Act also.
Indeed, and that was always the problem with the DAS language and how they were handling it and conducting it, because I think it's one thing to do something in Florida. It's a whole other can of worms to do something in California, because there's so many regulatory hurdles that they place in front of you right there that protect so many different people. According to the complaint, Disney's new DAS policies unlawfully restrict access to the service by limiting eligibility to guests with developmental disabilities, such as autism. And that's a big part of this lawsuit, by the way, which we actually have a copy of here. If I can bring that up right now. Let me see if not that one. Yes, yeah, it is that one. So it says right here on page 6 at the very bottom of that page, line 20, in fact, defendants Disney and does I-50's terms and conditions expressly state that disability access services is intended to accommodate only guests who have, due to a developmental disability like autism or similar, are unable to wait in a conventional queue for an extended period of time. That's big language, folks, because only now, and the lawsuit makes note of this, you are filtering out basically everybody else who might otherwise be considered disabled that are not, according to this lawsuit, according to the terms and conditions, and according to Disney. Disney is defining who's disabled and who isn't. That's a big problem right there, which is interesting because and before the parties actually filed this suit, I believe they gave Disney 30 days. Let me see if I can find that right here. Yes. Corrective action within 30 days or else they'll actually sue. Well, in that time period, what happened? A small change occurred to the DAS policy, which removed the only in the terms and conditions. So Disney knew this was coming. They attempted to change it, but unfortunately, the grievances still took place. And, well, they filed accordingly. So this is some big stuff right here. They're also saying, which is very interesting, because of Disney's use of Inspire Health Alliance and their employees, they're saying this. Let me see if I can find this right here. Yes. At all relevant times therein herein alleged, defendants Disney and does I-150s. DAS terms and conditions violated the class members' right to privacy under the state privacy laws and HIPAA guidelines, under Civil Rights Act, California Business and Professionals Code, and established public policy by coercing individuals with disabilities into believing they had to waive their right to participate in class or representatives' actions as a precondition to receiving critical accommodations. That wasn't quite the line I wanted to pick up right there, but that's a huge part of this too. Remember, even before you could apply for DAS and go through the interview process, they had you sign a waiver saying you forfeit your right to enter or engage in a class action lawsuit, and which is pretty stunning because usually that's a two-way transaction there. If you have a clause like that, is that even enforceable? The lawsuit says that it isn't. Here's the thing I wanted to point out here. Defendants and each of them required guests applying for DAS accommodations to describe specific symptoms and the nature of their disability in detail to Disney employees and a third-party healthcare provider from defendant Inspire Health Alliance. These disclosures included individually identifiable medical information regarding the guest's disabilities, conditions, and symptoms, which falls squarely under the CMIA's definition of, quote, medical information. What this lawsuit is saying, because they brought in Inspire Health Alliance employees, which were basically, nurses, practitioners, active practitioners, that effectively for Disney places them in a under a kind of medical umbrella of regulation. They're essentially becoming medical healthcare providers by asking that information through a third party like that. That's what the lawsuit is alleging. Folks, guys, what do you think about all of this? I think this is a pretty huge deal right here. I'm not quite sure what they're asking for in terms of a monetary amount, but if this is granted class action status, do you see this going forward?
It should go forward because the people that I've personally spoken to who this directly affects, the way that their interviews were handled, and I have heard that the interviews are changing and kind of getting less invasive, but at least in the beginning, the interviews were overwhelmingly invasive and abusive to children specifically. So this is beyond just quote unquote mistreatment. This is actually, I would venture to say, and I don't know exactly what the legal terms for it would be, but would be my opinion more than a legal term, that they were actually abusive of kids in some of the interviews that I heard about, where they were trying to get kids to be performative for them, especially autistic kids. If you know anything about those with autism, they kids can be very standoffish. My sons both they're on the spectrum. When it comes to any type of a public display or like one-on-one conversation, even conversations on the phone, they don't like that. They don't want to engage in the first place for the most part. And to get somebody on the other end who's trying to prod them and poke them and get answers out of them, it's not physically abusive, but it is certainly emotionally abusive. And obviously, I'm saying this not from any legal standpoint. It's from my own perspective. It's from my own opinion. But the stories I've heard are absolute horror stories of what people went through just to get denied this special abilities pass. And this all has everything to do with them going from the free fast pass system to a paid for lightning lane system, where they're literally trying to tell these people, no, you need to go and you need to pay for lightning lanes for your family, even if the situation might be temporary. I mean, it's pretty repulsive and pretty disgusting what I've heard of the people that I've talked to who have been through this.
One of my concerns is, so my dad used to get the DAS before this new system went into place, and he never had a problem getting it. Obviously, I'm not going to, give out all of his medical information and why he needs it, but it was always nice because we didn't have a problem or issue, and he has some, medical issues that would prevent him from going in the regular lines. And I think what disappointed me is when we went in there, it did kind of feel like, well, first of all, we tried doing it over the phone. We literally waited for about 3 hours on the phone one day, never got anyone on there. And all of a sudden, about 10, 15 minutes after we finally hung up the phone, I get a message saying, oh, well, we tried to reach you, but, you left. And so you'll have to call back. And I was like, I waited 3 hours to talk to someone on the phone, never got a hold of anyone. And then we finally went to the park. We saw someone immediately within 5 minutes, and that was nice. But it did kind of feel like an interrogation, the way they were going after my dad. And basically they were like, well, if he has this and this, what has happened when he has been in line and whatnot. And they were pretty, scrutinizing every little thing. And to me, it was like, there was no HIPAA violations, with this. They were asking, and we were providing the information so that we could hopefully have a fair outcome. But instead they said, well, you know what, since something's really happened, then we're just going to have you do the, disability access, where it's, you just go to the end of the line, or you talk to a cast member and get a time to return. Now that works too. But obviously, the DAS was a lot easier to use. I know that, as Kiki and Luca was saying in the chat, there was a widespread, misuse of DAS, and that's really unfortunate. And I know they're trying to curb that, and that's why they came up with these new rules. But I think they could have done a better job doing it. And there's a few people I know and friends that were denied that I was like, oh my goodness, they, they really, really need it. And I cannot believe that Disney said no. And of course, we've all seen the videos from people on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram saying, I can't believe I got denied. This is my, situation. They divulged their medical issues, or you could see why, they needed it. But it really kind of, and I'm not making light of anyone else in their medical situation. It's just that I get the fact that people who are on the spectrum and have autism, they definitely, definitely need a DAS pass, and I can see why. But it's to say that only those people can get it was really harsh, and I think that was ridiculous. I will say that the person we did talk to, even though it felt like a kind of interrogation, she did try to, in the end say, okay, look, here's your options. We're not going to give it to you, but here's your options. And she was nice about it. And we had a good conversation, and I asked a few more questions, and I found out that had I answered a little bit differently, they probably would have given it to my dad. I'm not trying to use or abuse the system, for my dad. He needs it, and that's why we're asking for it. We've been able to find other ways. We just don't go on as many rides or attractions as we used to, but we try to. And the thing is, I just think they could have handled this a much better way. I think they just wanted to throw the hammer down and say, you know what, this is a misuse, so we're just going to throw the hammer down only for these people. That's it. No ifs, ands, or buts. And even if you think you need it and we can see that you need it, nope, not doing it. And that's what really hurt, because I don't feel like they were being fair to everyone that needs the DAS pass.
Well said.
When you said it was not a HIPAA violation because you told them, don't they have to have you sign a formal waiver for it not to be a HIPAA violation? Every time I go to the doctor, I have to sign a HIPAA thing again.
So typically, so the person that you're dealing with, they typically, like when I worked in HR for many, many years, so I would have to sign, the HIPAA form saying I will not violate anyone's, HIPAA, rules or policies with the company. So I would sign off on that, and I would have to do that with my company. I'm sure that the people who work for Disney, they have to do the exact same thing, especially if they're taking care of the DAS. You don't necessarily need to sign the HIPAA form.
Well, don't you have to acknowledge that you understand your rights? Otherwise, how do they know you know? I don't know. You're the expert, but it seems strange.
No, because under the Disney Plus rules, you don't have to do that. I'm just kidding. That was a bad joke.
You know what? You know what I find incredibly ironic about all this?
Please.
First of all, this is profoundly repugnant, and we have several former cast members on this panel right now. We know how much the attitude and the level of service has severely declined in this department over the past just few years. And we can go on and on about that, and we can talk about the enormous amounts of greed and malice that are associated with things like Lightning Lane, which is the only reason why they decided to crack down on this system. But the thing that I find most ironic is that the company who alleges to be the shining beacon of example for diversity, equity, and inclusion is the most uninclusive environment when it comes to people who have actual issues that must be addressed and catered to. That's the part that I find most disgusting.
Yeah, it's ironic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wait, you want irony? Did you see the address of the law firm? Come along and sing the song and join the jamboree.
It's very sad to see a company, and especially the theme park entity within that company that used to be so catering to everybody, no matter who you were, no matter what able status that you might have, to honestly discriminate in the way that they are, and as aggressively as they are. I understand they want to combat abuse and they want to combat the issues that might cut into lightning lanes, and lightning lane sales.
It's all about the money.
Well,
but
Yeah, so I'm just remembering this. I'm very sorry, Vash. So apparently today I'm in the mood to go ahead and break all sorts of NDA stuff.
Okay.
There are. Let me see if I could say this correctly, okay? Because I don't want to actually have them come after me at lawsuit. That because the whole entire thing about the guest communications thing, I'm like, that's you, okay? If you want to write in a letter, I'm just telling you how to do it, and I tell you what happens, and that's entirely your prerogative about whether that happens. So I'm kind of covered in that area, but this one maybe not. But I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. The guest relations has a lot of your file. They have a file on everybody. Okay. If you're going up and if you're getting a DAS pass or whatever, what it was called beforehand, or a guest assistance pass, which is what it was called in my day. Yeah, they know who you are. They know everything about you that has ever happened inside of a park. If you're just going in there and you never interact with a cast member, there's probably nothing that they have on you. But if you ever have a single interaction with a cast member that must be documented in any way, it is documented, and they definitely have it on your file. So there are absolutely ways of addressing this abuse in a very surgical and extraordinarily precise manner. They're just opting not to do it because of people like Jeff Valley, who only wants to make money and make the maximum amount of profit in the smallest amount of time period with the absolute finite of all finite games that he's playing.
Yep.
Oh, it's so disturbing. It is really, really sad, because I've heard some horror stories of people being denied and during that denial process being interviewed and horrible circumstances surrounding that interview process. It's just it really is dehumanizing, and I hope Disney adjusts, because I think they just went a little bit too far in one direction, believing they could because they were Disney. Very, very unfortunate there.
And you know what? You're only Disney as long as you're behaving like Disney. Once you not behaving like that, then you become like every other company.
Somebody chiseled that in a wall somewhere in Burbank. That's a profound statement, truly, Joshua.
Thank you. I just came up with it right now. I'm impressed.
Use it again. It's a good one.
I agree. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. And that's the thing. They just haven't done a lot of Disney things lately, like Communicore Hall, for example. Right?
Oh, the greatest.
Oh wow!
Oh, it is.
I need to go take my heart medication. I'll be right back, please.
yeah. I would have thought that Joshua would have had that reaction, because this is
my campus food court is more well themed than this.
Yes. I was thinking the same thing.
Oh jeez.
This is not consistent with the amazement that used to be Epcot. That is for sure. But
I was thinking it looks like a school cafeteria. Just somehow smells worse.
But worse.
God. Sorry, Joshua, you were saying?
Remember Windows? Remember when those were a thing?
No.
You know, but I know that they had Windows in the 80s, and that's just like so old news. Like, oh my God, like so 20th century. But you know, and Windows were a pretty cool thing. You know, instead of a thing. I mean, how many of these wonderful LED, super sophisticated lighting systems they have there, which they are not using, by the way, would you trade in for some natural light? You know, I thought that we were supposed to be a company that was about environmentality and, you know, like looking at the natural wonder of the world, and not those enormous blank walls that are back there that were basically in the same location. They used to have floor to ceiling windows that went up 2 stories, and you could see the beautiful trees outside, and the whole connection of the futurism and nature together. It was just, you know, it's just like everyone kind of made fun of that hallway, but that hallway looks 10 times more beautiful than whatever this is supposed to be.
I love that hallway. That was my favorite part in the park.
Mm-hmm. It is incredible just how much of a downgrade this actually is. Hey, Block Mickey, maybe you should use downgrade correctly.
Oh, anyway. And by the way, as long as we're going to make it boring and awful as far as the walls, the lights, the ceilings, the windows, let's put really, really crappy, cheap furniture in it too. To complete the look.
Indeed.
The Gensler people are loving you right now, Lou. They want you on the team right now. Those Gensler infestation people, Barbara Booza has a job for you.
But here's the thing, guys. Here's the thing. this did serve a purpose, because not only was it supposed to be a flex space for their many festivals and celebrations that they have over there at the Epcot nowadays, it was also supposed to be
was the purpose to be a topic for my therapist?
well, it was supposed to be a meet and greet. It was supposed to be a meet and greet for Mickey and Minnie. That was one of its express purposes, was to actually have a place where you can meet these characters in this park. Which, you know, I mean, it's, I guess, a way of doing that. Back
It's a stupid way of doing it. It's a very 2000s way of doing it. You know, it's just like once upon a time, ladies and gentlemen, you don't really probably aren't aware of this, but once upon a time, way far away, you know, they used to have characters that would walk around the park, and then they would interact with you, and then they weren't shut away inside of these little cubby holes where they were treated like Taylor Swift or your dime store celebrities, where you went up to them and then you had this formalized photograph session where you got their autograph as if they're some sort of celebrity. You know, Mickey Mouse is not supposed to know that he's a celebrity. He's not supposed to behave like he's a celebrity. He's just supposed to be your friend inside the park. And oh boy, look, okay, I'm here. Oh, hi guys. Okay, yeah, thank you for being here. Not, oh, come and worship me, please.
And back in the day, even if you did have like a set place, right? Because, you know, I mean, sometimes you might miss a character if they're roaming around, right? If you were going to have a set place for these characters to exist, then you built an entire land, like Mickey's Starland or Mickey's Toontown over there in Disneyland. Now,
charming.
We don't need any of those things. We could just go ahead and set up a meet and greet location, call it Mickey and Friends. Great. Now I have to distinguish this from the parking structure.
And you can put a lightning lane on it too.
Oh yeah. I was going to say, you're going to pay for a lightning lane for this?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a
lightning lanes on everything, Lou.
Did they cut that, or are they still doing that?
No, they are still doing it.
Oh my god.
Yes, they're still doing it, and here is your space that you can now meet and greet with Mickey and Minnie, or at least that's what you could have done back before they actually booted Mickey and Minnie. Why? Well, let's go ahead and get right into it. From Blog Mickey, Mickey and Minnie moved back to Imagination Pavilion following Communicore Hall technical difficulties at Epcot. Yes, folks. They couldn't set up a gift shop over there at the exit of Haunted Mansion, and now they can't set up a meet and greet as part of their big flex space that is Communicore Hall. This is amazing. Mickey,
warn me first so I can stand it. Remember, I'm a heart patient. This isn't going to be another sewage thing, is it? Have we broken our rule already?
I don't think so.
Hey, I will tell you guys, I went to the Haunted Mansion gift shop at Disneyland last night, and it smelled of mildew. It was terrible. I was like, really?
And it's a new building. It's never the new one smell like that. My God.
Yeah, the brand new one. It smelled. If you go, so inside the shop, they have the side door entrance open, but the main entrance is closed off, and they actually have it boarded up. And it smells like mildew in there. I had even asked my friend who was with me. I'm like, "Did you smell that?" And he's like, "Oh yeah." And I'm like, "Oh, that's terrible."
All right, we already talked about that counter. How many days since sewage issue? Vash, add it to the counter. We
gotta bring it all the way down to zero again.
Well, this is not sewage. This is just mildew.
It's two different parks. You gotta give them some credit.
They are
completely separate counters.
Yes, absolutely. Brer Roswald has a very valid point here. You know, it's just like, Bob, you've got to realize, you know, these are two completely separate divisions with two completely separate sets of highly incompetent people. Okay.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm aware of that.
Wait a minute.
Unfortunately.
Wait a minute. We're burying the lead. Look over there on the right. The pole dancers are coming back.
I was just about to get to
don't
that.
even
Luke,
talk about that. Come on.
You gotta let the finale be the finale, Luke. Come on, you just can't throw it in the middle of the story. Yes. The priority here for Epcot is that we maintain this show right here. Not
foreshadowing.
Exactly. Not that Mickey and Friends actually meet, and it's Mickey and Friends designated space. This is unbelievable. Mickey and Minnie can be found in a new or old location today at Epcot. The iconic duo have been temporarily located to the Imagination Pavilion following, quote, technical difficulties at their typical Communicore Hall location. We made it out to Epcot today and found them meeting in the lobby of the Pixar Short Film Festival area. It's unclear how long Mickey and Minnie will be greeting at this Imagination Pavilion, but cast members at Mickey and Friends Meet and Greet were helpful with directions on where to meet Mickey and Minnie during this unexpected downtime. You can see right there where they're actually meeting, greeting with guests in this very temporary flex space right here.
Ooh, they changed the carpet again, though. Carpet looks nice.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh.
I would know it's the Magic Eye Theater, I'm assuming. So yeah,
it is.
I'm not questioning whether or not you know. I'm just saying, it was just reflex right
Fixture's
there.
been up for a while though. I'm pretty sure.
Perhaps
Does knowing when the carpet's been changed become the equivalent of knowing where the bodies are buried, or are those two separate things? That's what I was.
They might be two different things. Although it looks nice enough, I might
it's
join it to my textures series. But no, I probably won't do that. Go ahead.
But
Oh,
what
boy.
all can actually? What confuses me here is it's saying unforeseen technical difficulties. What can go wrong in Communicore Hall? Like, is there like a lighting issue? Because it's literally you have a cast member there with a camera, and you're taking a picture of Mickey and Minnie Mouse with some fancy lighting. And did they tear the lobby curtain in the background? Like, what can actually break here? Did the ceiling fall in like it's soaring? Like,
I wonder if it's an HVAC issue. That's the only thing I could think of. Could it be an HVAC issue?
The space is also surrounded by kitchens. This specific space is surrounded by kitchens. So because there are three food stands and beverage stands that I know of, like the one here in Communicore Hall you cannot see because it's behind the wall, but they can open it up. But there's a kitchen right there. There's probably one main kitchen that serves the entire space, but that kitchen would be just on the other side. I don't know if anything went wrong with that kitchen that could have blown over into that Mickey and Minnie Friends meet space, but there's a number of issues. There's obviously the electrical, the wiring is new on this. The lighting sucks anyway, so that's an issue. They also redid this whole space with the Broadway stuff for the Festival of the Arts. So that could have something to do. There's literally probably hundreds of different things that can go wrong technically. Plus, there's always sewage. That's always a possibility.
Maybe what they're cooking in that kitchen only smells like sewage. Call it pre-sewage. That would be.
It's edible food. Trust them.
Yeah, well.
This is really, it is really something right here. Literally, you can't get a gift shop going. You can't get a meet and greet space going. Again, this building was purpose built for two functions. One, it was to host your stupid festivals, and the other to meet and greet characters. It can't even fulfill one of its main purposes.
Disney can't do what some random dude in Vegas can do, which is do a meet and greet and get pictures with people dressed up as Elmo. And Disney can't do it.
How is that possible? It only serves two functions. It's like a gift shop that's not open because of drainage.
We all know those three magical words. We're all thinking about those three magical words. Right?
Oh yeah, I think
that explains everything. Yeah, all the way through. And those three words are not "I love you." They're not those words.
No. In fact, you might not be able to spell Disney without the letters that make up the acronym of the words we're talking about.
Yep.
Can I point something out? This particular concept art does, in fact, look like it should be part of Festival of the Arts, but right now, what they have in there for Festival of the Arts, although it kind of looks in a way similar to this, it's all Broadway, Disney on Broadway stuff, and when they're using the space for that, then the space is non-functional for somebody to sit down and eat or for them to have food booths. So it's what is supposed to be a multi-purpose space cannot be used as a multi-purpose space because it's so small it can only be used for one purpose at a time. It's really ridiculous.
Because they had to shorten the building for Moana.
What gets me is think about how far Imagineering has gone down when you consider that when they built the various pavilions of World Showcase with their display areas in Japan, for example, or in China or wherever, of famous or not so famous, but at least verifiably artifact stuff, they started contracting out to actually do their work in museums around the country. The most notable one I know of is the Gene Autry Western Heritage Museum in Griffith Park, which Imagineering was very involved in designing. And now
I had lunch with one of the designers of that several years ago. I know one of the guys particularly that you're talking about.
And it was great. And they can't even make a Mickey Mouse museum on their own property now?
Oh, no. Of course not.
So
it was Joseph Reyes. I can say his name. It's Joseph Reyes is one of the guys that was working.
Well, give him my regards, because that's a great place. It really is.
It's absolutely intolerable. It's so frustrating. This company used to be so ambitious and they used to be able to pull off amazing things. WDI, Walt Disney Imagineering, used to be one of the most prestigious design firms in the world. People
more than Gensler
to work there. Oh yeah, much more than Gensler. And now, well, you have Imagineers not only going to Gensler but coming from it, and it's just it's sad. It is sad where we have ended up.
WDI.
I'm sad.
Yeah, we need a place of refuge. But you know where you're not going to find that place of refuge, unfortunately, when it comes to design and, well, I don't know, facilitating your concept artwork perhaps and all of that. Well, unfortunately, that place is Disneyland. Oh, this tweet right here got the brain of thinking. I wanted to go ahead and make this a segment right here. Okay, yes, I get it. It's not necessarily news, but let's have some fun, guys. Come on. Entire theme parks, this by laughingplace.com, entire theme parks have been announced and built and nearly opened since Disneyland first put up this construction wall around a fenced-off area near the entrance to Tomorrowland. Will that concept artwork ever come to fruition? Well, apparently, in some cases, it already has. It's from concept to reality right there. No. Oh, yes.
It went from we promise you blue to go away green.
Yeah. Okay, this piece of concept art has been here for so long.
This is actually the 2019?
Yes. Since just about end of 2019, very start of 2020. This wall has been there. Barry, please tell me if I'm wrong. But this concept has been there for so long that this is the second version because the first one was so sun bleached they had to change it out. And here's the thing, folks. If this is not embarrassing enough, well, a classic or a legendary, I should say, Imagineer actually had some thoughts on this very thing. I remember when this tweet came up, I was like, didn't Tony Baxter say something about this? He did. I want to go ahead and play that for you right now. Just to, I don't know. Let's say complete the point here. Let's see.
I have another, this is a side jump here, but if you're going to take something out, be it as simple as a tree that's maybe getting dangerous because of its size, you've got to have another thing ready to go in. And too often what I see, and elephants are a good example of that, where they take it out and they have no idea to what to put back. In front of Tomorrowland, we had these kind of futuristic rocks that guided your eye towards the astro orbiter in the middle. And someone says, I don't like those rocks. They look like, somebody said, French fries from the future or something. And so they ripped them out, revealing the pump room for our fountains there. And now for 4 years, there's been a construction wall as the gateway entrance to Tomorrowland around those fountain pumps on the left side, And I mean, come on, guys, where was your big idea? It's one thing to take them out because you don't like them. Fine. So what are you putting in? Because the gardens there were to me about future agriculture. And
well, there you go. And then he goes into the Tomorrowland concept right there, which is actually a really, really cool concept. I would recommend everybody check out that podcast. Where
it's an amazing podcast. He was so amazing with that. I really wish I would have recorded the Q&A, because they don't record the Q&A. He was dissing all kinds of horrible projects left and right, and Tony Baxter normally is just very straight laced about it. He called the Little Mermaid ride. He said it was a ride through a Macy's window.
Ouch! Ouch!
Well, you know what Sean Connery described the Seven Dwarfs headquarters building in Burbank as the Kremlin. The Kremlin.
The Kremlin. Oh, it does look like the Kremlin.
Yes,
he's not wrong. I wish I would have known this a couple weeks ago. I saw Tony Baxter out at Epcot. I would have totally asked him about that. That would have been awesome. If I, excuse me, sir, just 1 second. Can I ask you a question about the podcast that you had? That would have been awesome.
I am kicking myself left and right that I didn't press record on some sort of device to get that, because I thought that they would release the whole thing. I mean, the part that's came out that you should watch on the Timekeeper thing, it's really awesome, especially since the hosts are always Imagineers themselves, so they don't have this pretense, like most people would be, just like, oh, I'm just so in awe of you. Let's talk about things on a surface level. No, this is Joe Lanzanero, and I can't remember the other guy's name right now. Joe Lanzanero was one of the primary architects of Mickey's Toontown.
Absolutely,
and so when they're talking shop. With every single person on that, they're talking. The Zeitgeist design and production. Their podcasts are always worth going to, and you really they do it kind of like a weird, old-fashioned way where you sign up by email and you can go and you can watch the whole entire thing with the Q&A first, but just go and follow their links and everything. What they came out with was awesome, and they did touch on Brer Oswald's Splash Mountain and other things like that. So it's
lots
really
of
cool
things I've clipped.
Yes, exactly. Anytime that those guys interview people, I mean, it's really awesome, because there's no putting on of airs, there's no awe and wonder and superficiality. They just get right down to it every single time. And
I love it. I love it when Tony speaks candidly about this stuff. I think it's
he didn't before.
Awesome.
He did not before.
No, he was very guarded. He was like,
such a nice man and everything. It always used to annoy the crap out of me. And because I'm just like, would you please pick a side? Okay, we know that they've screwed up your Figment. Why would you just say it? And then finally, I think that it was basically old age. I don't think that it was anything else that happened to him, because as people get older, they're just like, I don't care. I'm just going to say what I want to. I think it was that happened to him.
I've always been this way.
I think he just tired of waiting for
I was a smart ass kid, and I was a smart ass young man, and I remain curmudgeonly.
I think Tony's finally kind of coming out of the woodworks. I think he's wanted to say stuff for a long time, but I
just wonder if he had an NDA that expired after so many years.
Maybe, I don't know. It's no secret that he was not happy with how he was removed from the Walt Disney Company. However, I will tell you, he's leaving something out there that I'm aware of, and I think Vash, you and I have talked about this, and we spoke with Jonas briefly. But so my source over at Disneyland had said, because she's like, do you ever see that boarded up area? It's been there since like 2019. I'm like, yeah. And she goes, and you notice they took down the rock formations, and they were supposed to put in these new things on the side. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, you ever wonder what's in there? And I'm like, well, yeah, but I just figured they're taking their sweet time building stuff, because that's how they do things now. And she's like, well, what happened was when they removed the rock, they actually found piping and electrical, more importantly electrical, but they have no idea what it goes to. There's no blueprints, there's no nothing, and they're afraid to cut anything or dig anything up, because they don't know where it leads to, and it might be a major shutdown, whatever. So for now, they decided to board it up. They actually have boards on top too. So if you ride the Astro Orbiter and you try to film it, which I've tried to do as well, you can't see into it. but it's almost ridiculous. It's literally been there since 2019, and like you said, yeah, they had to. And there's the old rock work right there. They literally have had to replace that picture because it's gotten so old and faded, and it's just one of those things where I don't think anyone cares about it anymore. They see it and they go, "Oh, that's what they're eventually going to do." But what most people don't realize, unless you've been there, for the last several years going to the parks, it's been there since 2019. When are they actually going to do something about it and remove that area or those walls and take care of what they need to? They're just afraid to dig things up and causing some major catastrophe inside of Disneyland. But I don't know.
I'm kind of afraid that they might decide to replace this with a statue of Bob Iger to himself.
Don't say that.
I'm Bob Iger. Welcome to my future.
I really hope that eventually we get to the part where that doesn't happen. Like when they named the Team Disney building the headquarters of the entire company, the Michael D. Eisner building. I kind of groaned when they first did that. Although Bob's tenure, by comparison, we should put Eisner's name on like 15 buildings by now in comparison. But still, just like I really hope that they don't put down any tributes to him whatsoever. Please, let's get to the part where everyone sees Iger for who he actually is.
He's already got a building after him in New York City.
But guys, you have.
Oh yeah, there's that one. Yeah.
If you know St. Paul's Cathedral in London, the big dome that survived the Blitz and everything else, among the many famous people buried there is the guy that designed the building, Sir Christopher Wren. And you know what his epitaph is? And it might go for Bob without any kind of a plaque. It says, "Stranger, if you seek a monument, look around you." Well, stranger, if you want to see a monument to the work of Bob Iger, look around you and be sad.
Oh, man.
Broccoli,
it's
monument to Bob.
It's so sad. And I just want to clarify here. Brer might have to depart. If he dips out, don't worry. He might be back on. I think we're gonna go for about 40 minutes or so in order to get to a premiere that Ron has. But that's
Okay.
neither here nor there. Just want to go ahead and give people an update. Deborah, no blueprints. They didn't have blueprints. Here's the thing, Deborah. A lot of the construction that was done for Disneyland back in like the 1950s and 60s, especially this area. Again, this area is right at the hub. This is the entrance to Tomorrowland. Okay, I should have set that up previously, but a lot of this stuff, yeah, they didn't really document all that well. I mean, I remember Marty Sklar telling a story one time where they found a roll top desk with all these receipts and work orders and stuff like that they had kind of failed to pay because they were so disorganized during the setup process of Disneyland. They didn't find that stuff for years.
And Deborah, it's not just Disney. I don't know how well you know the original Universal lot in Hollywood and on Lancashire, but you know the Black Tower there, the one that's in Earthquake that they was Gene Barry's headquarters on Name of the Game. Someone I know very well was involved with the real estate division of Universal, and when they were renovating things once upon a time, they pulled up the blueprints. Now it is a completely square building of about, 13, 14, 15 floors. According to the official records, because of all the renovations that have been done over the years of partitioning and whatever, no two floors of that exactly square building had the same square footage, according to the records. A physical impossibility, I might add. But that's the way records get handled sometimes in these situations. It's not a good thing, but it is the way it is. There's certainly less excuse for it in the age of computers, but it doesn't seem to matter.
Yeah, there's another element to this as well, is that you might think that for today you might not think that 16-year gap is all that impressive when you're looking at the difference between Disneyland and the Magic Kingdom, but there is an enormous difference with the documentation of every single park that happened after Disneyland, because they really went for they found out that the way in which Disneyland does things, which is a little bit they kind of still do it sort of like a movie set and everything at that time period, where there wasn't really standardized control, standardized documentation and everything. But then they realized when they were developing the Magic Kingdom that they did need to have a standardized ways of doing things, just as a method of quality control, if nothing else. Yeah. So so with the Magic Kingdom, they started a rigorous documentation process on everything. That's where you see, like, if you go on like eBay or one of the like heritage auction sites, you'll see these huge actually leather bound manuals for things like the Pirates of the Caribbean and its audio animatronics and using standardized parts and everything. So yeah, this kind of story would check out for something like Disneyland, which was really just it's beautiful, but on the inside of it, it's very haphazard in its construction.
You would be surprised just how on the seat of their pants they were building this park. I mean, it's pretty crazy. Hear the stories. I mean, I remember what was it? Oh my goodness gracious! I can't remember the Imagineer right now. Why can't I remember the Imagineer right now? He is seen as creating the interior for Golden Horseshoe and Adventureland and contributed heavily to Main Street.
Harper Goff?
Sorry. Okay, thank you. Wow, I can't even, like, my brain just, okay. Harper Goff, I mean, I remember hearing a story where he just laid out 2 sticks, like, side to side and said, okay, Earth Mover, go ahead and dig here. And that was the trench for the Jungle Cruise.
Yeah, he put 2 sticks out from a truck. So he just put down 2 sticks on a truck and then just drove around the barren land over there. And it's like, okay, that's going to be your outline for the Jungle Cruise. The end. We're done.
I mean, that's wild. You would never do anything like that, and yet. Yeah. There you go. So,
but here's the thing, though. Historically, it would have never been done had it not been done in that primitive state beforehand. With it, the construction of Disneyland is an extraordinarily unique confluence of a lot of events. It really is. And one of my mentors, Tom K. Morris, is writing the definitive history right now. He's almost done with it. Hopefully he has it released this year. For goodness sakes, he's been working on it for years. I've been doing some of the research with it, but he's writing the book on the definitive history of the early days of Walt Disney Imagineering, as well as it relates to Disneyland. And his research is so groundbreaking that I, as a Disney historian, and have been so for like 20 plus years, ever since he started working on this book, I'm afraid to talk about certain things because I know that he's going to come down on me. He's just going to be like, well, this isn't this and this isn't this. And it's like, okay, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to hold off on saying anything about Disneyland until you're done with the book. Okay.
Yeah. And so go ahead and provide the author's name in the private chat right there. I want to go ahead and just make a note of that right there, because I would love to see a definitive book on this, because I think it's just a fascinating subject.
It's incredible. Sure. It's absolutely incredible. I have been working with him a little bit about the research and everything. Although he has tons of people doing it. I'm a small cog in his machine for this. But really, it's so freaking insanely detailed. And names that you've never heard, people that are responsible for so much. Just awesome.
Oh, amazing stuff. Unfortunately, we have to move on because we have one more story we have to hit because, well, Ron is here. Ron, you know where I'm going. Or at least I hope you do. Okay, so there was an incident that happened within the last couple of weeks, I'm guessing. This video was posted about 5 days ago. It might get a little political on here, but we're going to try not to be super political. We just want to go ahead and, we have to essentially talk about the story. And Ron, I think you were contacted by a couple of people on this, and now I'm going to go ahead and contact you on this story right here. Okay, this video was originally sent to me by somebody on Twitter. I believe it was Jess. Hearts Theme Parks, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you so much, Jess, for your contribution to the show. And there's this gentleman, you can see them on screen right now, that went to Animal Kingdom for the first time.
Oh yeah.
During an after-hours party and deciding to wear a MAGA hat. Totally fine. Totally good. As far as I can tell, I've checked the dress code for all the parks, and they're basically the same. you can wear stuff like that. There's no problem there. However, this is where the story gets very interesting. We were just talking about the Disability Access Service, and apparently this gentleman, because he suffers from essentially his kidneys are failing. I think he has some long-term complications related to that. Was able to qualify for DAS, but when he went back in order to, I suppose, go into the Lightning Lane after having made a reservation, well, him and his party were denied access. And I'll go ahead and play a little bit of this right now. I think it's safe. Pretty sure it is. Well, we're going to just hope and, just gonna cross those fingers there. I thought it was, but let's go ahead and see here.
You should be fine.
This was his.
Since I know Adam.
Amazing. So why do you think that woman...
That's how she went.
Why do you think she rejected us? Honestly, why?
Guys, I'm gonna
She
run.
denied us. I don't know what happened. We were going to go on the ride, and poor Adam, they're supposed to let Adam go in, so we'd have to wait in the line.
Why do you think she did it?
I think she denied us because the MAGA hats.
Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to be honest with you.
There's always a Karen.
I'll be honest with you guys. She was a high-calorie woman.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you, she was protesting against our MAGA hats. So now she's going to go on Twitter, and she's going to brag to all her friends that she didn't allow 2 Trump supporters on the Lightning Line, and that she took a stand against hate.
Yeah.
That's what she's going to say. And so if you see this, you're a loser.
Yeah.
Ron, the floor is yours.
Yeah, that's my buddy Adam Francisco. What a great guy this is. I actually found him on YouTube. My gosh, I want to say 2020 is when I found him. His videos first, early when I was sent home from work, because at the time I was a cast member at Disney and sent home from work because everything closed in the entire world, and I'm watching YouTube all day long. So found a lot of new creators during that period of time. Adam was one of them. So we have since become buddies. And he's a really great guy, but he is unfortunately suffering from acute kidney failure. He's on dialysis up to 10 hours a day, but he has been fighting the good fight. His channel is a political channel, but this is really more about what does happen when you wear. Obviously, "Make America Great Again" is just a slogan, so the hat itself is technically speaking not political. Like my hat says "Make Disney Walt Again." It's just a message of something that we'd like to see happen because of our own opinion, belief system, and you're allowed to express that. And by the way, I actually see quite a few MAGA hats at Disney. I mean, this is not an unusual thing. Pretty much every time I go there, I at least see one, if not 2 or 3 or 4 guests wearing "Make America Great Again" hat of some kind, whether it's red or black or whatever, or sometimes on the t-shirts or whatever. That's not that big of a deal. But if he has the legitimate DAS pass, which according to I know his health condition, he probably was able to get, hopefully, I don't really understand all of that. But if he had it, he should not have been denied the use of it by any cast member, especially at an after-hours event, because I know that this happened to be a Disney Vacation Club members only event that he went to.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So this was a special event. And that's on 2 fronts. So you have to be a member of the Disney Vacation Club already, and secondarily to that, you actually have to pay for the event. So only DVC members have the privilege of paying more to go to this specially allocated event for time, and so and it was his very first time at the Animal Kingdom Park, to my understanding. So. Other than that, he seemed to have a pretty good time. He enjoyed the food okay. I just don't think that you should. I mean, I wasn't there, right? So I can only speak to what I've seen in the video. If he was denied by a cast member based on a hat that he's wearing, that should never have happened.
And I really hate to comment on this story, but I think that we're going to need a lot more information about this, because it seems like he I don't want to disparage anybody, but when you are wearing a MAGA hat at Walt Disney World, keep in mind, I voted for the president 3 times. When you're wearing that in a park, it is a political statement, and you are asking for something. So there's a little bit of woke rightiness to this guy. And I don't want to disparage somebody, but there are certain things that you just don't do in polite society. Just common sense type of things. And if this is a DVC event that he's going to, I mean, I've actually assisted most recently with some of the entertainment for that. It's wild, but I have. So if he was denied access to a certain line, it's probably because that line was closed. I mean, I have stories about guest service breaks and ones that are perceived guest service breaks that I can go on and on and on about that are very similar to this. Sometimes they go the opposite way in the political spectrum. Sometimes they go in this way. But it seems like to me, I'm like, I don't want to say too much about it, but I'm like, we're going to need a lot more information here. But it does look like he was looking for trouble to me.
And I mean, that's that's a fair assessment, and it's definitely a possibility. I mean, I know Adam, he likes to stir things up. I mean, obviously gets views for his channel and stuff. He is pretty good for the most part about not going overboard. He has in fact been physically attacked on video, not at Disney, had nothing to do with Disney, but it was an interesting thing because that particular moment went so viral that it was actually on the news, even in Australia. Yeah, it was crazy, that particular segment where he was just like attacked out of the blue. It was kind of somebody's walking by and saw him and just runs over to him and like tries to physically attack him.
That bastion of free speech and equanimity.
Yeah, and it may have been other places too. I think he's been on national news here and stuff. So, and yeah, he does try to stir the pot. I don't know what happened at that line. To Josh's point, to be fair, it could have been that the line was closed down. We have to get more information from Adam about that, and I know that there's that Park Place is working on a story about that. I don't think we have all the information quite yet, so I just want to be fair about that. But so we'll see how it all plays out.
I did kind of want to pick a brain about it because I think that was, I mean, if what alleged happened, that's a pretty big story. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and as a rule of thumb with this, and again, somebody who's dealt with guest service for well over 10 years now, more years than I care to think about, if something doesn't sound right to you, if something sounds completely unbelievable, that's because you're not getting the whole story.
That's fair. That's fair. You were saying, Nolan, you were just about to...
I was just going to say, without really taking a stance on the whole matter of, like, the top of, the debate in itself of what's going on in our current political climate, there is a routine thing that we've seen from a lot of, viewers of these channels and stuff is a lot of people want to see Disney get out of politics. We've been kind of tired of it. We're very sick of it. It's all over the news. And you have to think about how Disney is handling this situation. Personally, now, Adam here, he seems like a cool dude from everything Ron's told me, and I probably go to the bar with him. We probably have a great time. He seems like a chill guy. But I do think that Disney needs to know what they're going to do when it comes to this sort of thing, because I've seen things at the park before where I personally, even as someone who's been kind of vouching for a lack of censorship when it comes to this kind of media and such, I remember once I was at a park and I saw someone with a hoodie on, and to censor this up for YouTube, it was a lot of anime girls before moments of absurd happiness. I'll just phrase it as that on his hoodie. And he was wearing that at a park with a lot of children and such. And that is a debate within itself. I usually am vouching more for the side of, like, we need a lot of artistic expression. But reality was, I didn't think that belonged to Disney. But it wasn't my call to be made on that.
I feel that way about the drunk obscenities you hear with these drink around the world people at Epcot in the presence of families and small children.
Mm-hmm. And, when you have a place where you're trying to maintain a certain image, when you go to your neighbor's house, for example, you want to go being your best self. Like, maybe they don't like to swear a lot and you might want to watch your language a little bit when you're around them. It's courtesy. The same rule shouldn't impact everywhere. And there should be time and places where it is time to get political. There is time where it should be. People should be able to wear whatever political belief they have with pride, because if everyone had to follow the same belief structure, that becomes authoritarianism or dictatorship. People need to be able to express themselves. But I do think with Disney is, either way, if this story is true in what Adam's presenting here, it shows that this is a failure of how this was handled by a cast member if it was portrayed this way, because this is something that should have, if they don't want people coming in with any politics, left, right, down, up, wherever, this should have been started at the gate with security. And if you start getting to where, okay, we're going to let our cast members on the field handle it, then there's going to be a lot of bias. There's going to be a lot of picking and choosing. And we need to find that happy balance between what needs to be to where people can be their true selves, but also we might need to leave the politics out of the park. But that's just my 2 cents. And
I agree, and it's about the training of the cast members. Once upon a time, you wouldn't have had to train them about this because people were generally polite, even if they were of Republicans or Democrats or whatever they were. But nowadays, it is not the role of a person taking tickets at a gate, basically, or of a ride attendant to decide on behalf of the company, because that's the first thing they should be trained, is you are speaking on behalf of the Walt Disney Company every time you open your mouth in here, what is and what is not acceptable. But when they relaxed the Disney look and when they told people they could be blue-haired and transvestite and everything else, if they're allowing the cast members to do all that, then of course they're saying to them there are no standards and there are no values and and it's, hey, whatever you feel. I mean, this reminds me, remember when the tapes came out of the people at Imagineering saying, well, I thought I had to suppress my views, but wow, I found out I can put them into all the stuff I'm doing. Well, when you give people that individual leeway and you encourage it in the name of DEI or ESG or whatever letters you want to use, then they're going to take advantage of it. And you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow.
Well, I think what you guys are saying here is that I probably shouldn't, I don't know, get onto the Mark Twain with a flag and put it out. And
you shouldn't.
Should I not do that? I should probably keep that at home, right?
This was bad.
Yeah.
This was inappropriate.
Don't do it. No, that's a big no. That's an actual flag. So no.
Yeah.
No. When we say that we want Disney out of politics, we want Disney out of politics. That means that you don't get to do anything left or right. Period.
Correct.
This is ridiculous. Those people are looking for trouble.
And not just left or right. Not just left or right. What if that was a Palestinian flag?
Oh,
very true.
Or a pro-Hamas
They've
flag.
tried to make it. True. Yeah, they've tried to do that as well.
Yep.
Don't do that, folks. Don't do that. Listen to Joshua. Don't make those kind of decisions. But
don't
you know what
be your enemy. Do not be your enemy. Do not be antagonistic like your enemy, because you're no different than the people that you despise when you behave in that way.
Correct.
Well said.
And we don't want to be people that we despise. We want to be people that people want to follow, people want to look to, people want to watch a live stream on. And in that case, no better place to do that than at Pave Place 28 when he's live streaming in the parks. Hey, maybe he'll catch on camera somebody acting inappropriately.
I hope not. I don't like seeing those. I don't like seeing those type of things.
I know that we love our audience and they stick with us through thick and thin, but it occurs to me at this stage of the program have we given the major change on time for next time, so people who maybe drop out will not get the message? And
that is actually a really good point. That's a really good point. Okay, so T3PO Live will be changing times. Instead of Thursdays at 4, it will be now Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. That's a very good point, Lou. I didn't at all.
I just don't want to lose people because they left before they heard it. That's all.
I was supposed to say at the top of the show, and we just a lot of things are happening behind the scenes right now.
And let me give them a reason to be here next Tuesday at 3 p.m. right after the pro show.
Please.
Because I called your attention to something in our backstage stuff that I thought I'd let you know about, but apparently I didn't, or we miscommunicated, that we will definitely have to show them next time. Folks, our darling Lorena was doing one of her wonderful park walkthroughs this weekend, at Magic Kingdom. And she decided to finish out her night by relaxing aboard the People Mover. And when it got inside the tunnel at Space Mountain, it shut down for about 20, 30 minutes. And it happened to shut down, and the work lights happened to come on where she happened to be. And, you know, Disney, aside from everything else, is extremely unlucky, because there above her inside Space Mountain was bird poop or bat poop beyond belief. And she got footage of it. And I know that we will be able to acquire that from her between now and then and share it all with you. So if you want to look forward to something, when she was doing it, she said it was bat poop. And somebody in the chat said, no, wrong IP. They don't own that. It's got to be falcon poop.
Falcon poop,
I suggested that we rename the ride the Poople Mover. But anyway, there's a coming attraction for you to be back here with us next time.
Can you please play your Henry thing right now, Vash?
Yes.
Yes, folks, we only have high-class stuff on this show.
Yes, indeed. Now, Bob,
I love how Lou says as I'm saying my exit.
Golly, there goes.
I know. I was trying to do a joke, and that came out wrong, and I very much apologize about that, Bob. No, Bob has actually exquisitely amazing content on there. I mean, really high production value for those live streams. I was just telling Bob the other day, hey, you're doing an amazing job, amazing work on here. Shorts every day, I believe. Please, Bob, where can the people find you?
Well, you can find me at BarryPlace28 at YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, X, and Instagram. So come hang out with me. We always have a blast. I'm getting ready to hit 6,000 subs, I think, by this week. So that's awesome. So I hope you guys will come and hang out with me. I'll be at Disneyland on Sunday. And then I'm hoping to, on Monday, we're going to do the Park Streamers Hangout with me, Theme Park Casual, in Cordy, California. So we'll be bringing you all sorts of theme park news and information that, we'd like to cover. And we'll be back at Disneyland next Thursday as well. So come hang out with me. It's always a lot of fun. If you love Disney history, I love covering that and showing old clips and photos. And it's just always a great time hanging out with you guys. And by the way, to all of you who've been following me from T3PO, thank you so much for your support. And also, many of you have been donating to my Chalk Walk page. I just want to say thank you so much. We're trying to raise money for the Children's Hospital of Orange County. And already you guys have donated over $3,000 to our park streamers page for the Chalk Walk, which is a great organization. So thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate it. And Vash, it's always a pleasure being on the show. Thank you for having me on. And of course, the esteemed panel here with Josh and Nolan and Ron. Always good to see you, Lou and Brer. Thank you so much for letting me be part of this group.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You
so
can
much,
find
Bob.
him wherever fine berries are poison.
Hey, there you go.
Thank you so much, Bob. Very much appreciate it. Please go ahead and
Bob.
subscribe to Barry Place 28. I believe Tom F has the links over there in the chat as well to Park Streamers Hangout and Barry Place 28. You can find them there. Nolan, where can we find you?
Thunder. Your worst nightmares, I'll tell you that. No, you can find me on my YouTube channel at Nolan Thunder. Maybe by then, the next time I release a video, maybe I'll finally get past the sickness and I'll have a normal voice for once. But yes, I talk about internet mysteries, video game mysteries. If it's a mystery, I'm talking about it. I've been working on a video for months and months, and I assure you it will come out sometime before the apocalypse happens. So be on the lookout for that. But if you like video game mysteries, please check out my series, Lost in the Files. Vash, always such an honor to be here with such an amazing
and you forgot, Nolan is now officially an adjunct member of the Genre Guys.
That's right. That's right. Can we tell them what we talked about?
Sure.
Yes. We did an episode here recently on the 1978 film The Silent Partner. I got to join the amazing Lauren Connor and Lou Wasserman's Ghost, and Martin Stone of the Lost Guys even joined us too. So that should be coming out here probably in the coming days. It's one of those mystery suspense thriller type movies, and it's a fascinating one.
Elliot Gould, Christopher Plummer, Susanna York. Is there any other reason I have to mention it to say that you ought to watch it? It's a great movie. Great movie. Oh, and Oscar Peterson did the music too. Anyway, but it was a great time had by all because Hangry is voyaging. And so Nolan stepped up and took over hosting duties and did admirably, and will be back again. And thank you for joining us and helping us with that. And that'll be on the Pro Show this week, I believe, because as you know, the genre guys happen on the Pro Show for members only as a perk, but then a couple of months later, they show up here for free. So you got two mints in one. And I know you didn't ask me, but I'm going to jump in and get my outros out of the way too, Vash, because of course you just put up finally Airport, the classic movie. And coming next, I'm reliably informed, is Alvarez Kelly, a movie that's about everybody's favorite subject, beef, and happens to be Bill Holden and the Civil War and cows, and has a kick-butt theme song that I just love. Alvarez Kelly, that ay, 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 senor. So be sure to join us for that, too. And then, of course,
you can join us.
Yes. What do we do on Sundays? What happens on Sundays around here?
On Sundays, we have Hollywood Backlog with Lou and you, where we take your questions. It's going to be at Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern. Oh. Well, Lou, that's what it is. I don't know.
You know, I just realized what that statue looks like. Do you remember in the Star Trek whale movie, those awful melting faces when they go back in time?
Yes. Yeah.
That's what it looks like, and that's not a good thing.
It is not anyway. Lou. It's, I don't know. It's some political figure from that. Yeah. I'm not sure. But you can email us at T3POnline@yahoo.com, where we will be taking your questions. And I'm sure it's going to have a lot of James Bond for Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you this time around. So Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern right there. That's not changing. Like we said, though, T3PO Live moving to Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern. Immediately following the Pro Show, so as long as you're watching, you'll just be redirected right over there. Rare, I see you. I see you came back into the chat. Where can the people find you? Good sir.
Well, you can find me on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. Sometimes I call it Twixer.
Isn't that
that's cool.
That a licorice candy?
No, that's Twizzler.
Boy. Oh, okay. Well, you can't tell you Twizzlers from your Twixlers without a program. Get your program.
Rex is becoming a grok.
Yeah. Ooh, Grok 3. Gonna come out here. Brer is a great follow. Seriously, definitely check him out. If you want to hear some amazing,
it's been spicy the last week.
If you dislike Tia's By Adventure as much as maybe we do, he is a must follow in that case. But he's got a lot of great commentary and a lot of amazing things. So thank you so much, Brer, for joining us this week on T3PO Live. We also have the one, the only, the amazing archivist, Joshua L. Harris, right here at his JL Omni Twitter account.
JLH Omni. You've been pronouncing.
Oh, JLH Omni.
As in Omni Media.
Now it all makes sense now.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Yeah.
There you
As an Omni Mover ride.
Yeah, I always think of that sequence in Horizons with the Omnidomes, you know, which is what the background the Pro uses always reminds me of.
How did I not know that? I don't know. I do.
That is okay.
Joshua.
That is fine.
Please.
That's okay. Yeah.
By the way, Joshua, you will especially enjoy our jukebox selection of the week on the Vash and Lou show this Sunday. And I'll just leave it at that and let everybody tune in. If you love Epcot, you got to be there. You got to be there.
This would be fun. Yeah. Do you want me to do it like we did last time, where I take over the screen and show some goodies and everything for you just for a quick second, or what?
We are rapidly running out of time.
Cool. All right, fine. Yes, okay.
Sorry.
I create the Disney content that you actually want to consume. That I do that through 82 the Epcot Legacy at epcotlegacy.com. There's also JLH Omni media.com as well, which is my personal site. There's also some wonderful goodies there. And just a couple days ago, as I mentioned previously in the show, I was interviewed by the Under the Influence podcast. And if you want to see what it's like when I talk to people on the other side of the political spectrum, that is definitely the place to do it. We talked about a lot of great issues and everything. Some of the things that we were praising Tokyo Disney Sea at the same time that we were talking about Mr. Musk and all of his goings on inside of Washington and everything. So there was a long range conversation. If you want to see something that's kind of like a Joe Rogan format, that would be there. And I think that was already in the chat beforehand. So lots of stuff going on, lots of stuff to do. And of course, if you want to support me as well as get exclusive access and early access to all of my projects, you can do that at epcotlegacy.locals.com. It's just a few dollars a month, and believe me, the exclusives and all the assets are highly worth it.
Oh, it is amazing. Joshua does such amazing work. If I could, I would provide you all the time necessary right there, for sure. But a lot of his links are actually going to be in the description. And chat, mods, if you haven't put his links in there yet, please go ahead and support our main man, Joshua. He does amazing work and is worth supporting in every way possible, and on locals as well.
Mods, please put a link to that X post with the email too, so we can get that thing out.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yes.
Oh,
definitely.
Yes. Actually, you know what? Let me go ahead and make sure I have that and put it in the chat, just in case you didn't see it before. But last but not certainly not least, Ron, over there at Follow the Bradley's Fun, where can the people find you, and where are we going to, good sir?
All right, well, we have a YouTube channel called Follow the Bradley's Fun. That's our family, Ron, Virginia, and Xander. I say that because I see us right in front of them. But I did want to show this to Josh real quick. This is that original piece of music, Golden Dream from...
Oh, awesome, wow. Yeah, because we've been talking about it in the private chat.
Yeah, 1984 is when this came out. I got awesome. I think my copy in 87 or 88.
There we go, I got you.
Oh, wait, here. There you go.
Oh,
the original lovely. Golden Dream. Still in good condition, but I've marked it with my
I want a scan of that cover. That's a pretty piece of art. I haven't seen that piece for that. And we've got some wonderful stuff that we can talk about later when the other people aren't around. It's some fun
I'll
stuff
send it
like
to you.
that.
I'll send it to you, Jess. But anyway, so right after this will redirect to my MegaCon vlog of days 2, 3, and 4. And here's the interesting thing about the MegaCon vlog that you're going to see coming up right after this. If all you do is just stay tuned to this, it'll redirect to that. And then after that, it will redirect to Toontown TV and Marvin the Movie Monster. So just stay tuned. Don't change that dial or channel or whatever they say. And just to let you know, WDW Pro is actually in the video, except he's not in the video. He is right next to me when I'm filming some of the parts of that video, and you will never.
So he's like Dean Cain in that Superman picture.
Exactly like Dean Cain, but it was just cut out to the side. So yeah, that was it was such a fun time meeting up with everybody. There's a lot of that where I just took photographs, and so I didn't even put those in the video. But like I met. God, so many people, Critical Drinker and Ryan Kennel and Disparu and all the Geeks and Gamers people. And then, of course, everybody from that Park Place there. Lou Wasserman's actual ghost was there. We couldn't see him because it was a ghost, you know. So, but yeah, it was a fun time.
I told you, I don't do those con things. I'm just not that into so many people who shouldn't be wearing spandex and velour wearing it.
Oh my God, the cosplay. Oh, the cosplay. I actually took out a part of the video where I was like, you did not use my voice for the cosplay because it's Cosby and it's not appropriate anymore. So
you mean to tell me,
Cosby?
You mean to tell me, Lou, that you're not into the long con? Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm not into people whose, well...
I think I know what
posteriors are wider than the convention hall, trying to squeeze in anyway in latex. That just isn't my thing.
That's what I've heard as well. Yeah.
I just realized that I have a bunch of super chats that I have to honor. I completely forgot. I am so sorry.
The show continues.
We'll go to them real fast, Ron. We're coming to you. Believe me, we're coming. Don't even worry about that. Very, very quickly here. Fire Dragon 50. Oh, let me just make sure I got that name right. Fire Dragon 57 for the $10. My son is flying to Walt Disney World on Saturday for the last time. He says without Rivers, he will no longer go to Walt Disney World, going to Universal from now on. A lot of people are saying that. That is for sure.
Send him that email address that Josh put up so he can write in and tell him.
It is in the chat right now, so please tell him that and maybe get some changes done and happening. Ronan Bunny, I know you donated $4.99. if I put this on screen, I know you retract it. You might not want to have it on screen. So I just want to go ahead and acknowledge you did donate $4.99. And yes, the DAS story is very, very, very sad. It has impacted a lot of people. And it looks like, I don't know, maybe you've been impacted by it as well. Very, very tragic. But Running Bunny, thank you so much for the $4.99. Deborah with the $4.99 with no message. Deborah, come on. You're an amazing person. You're an amazing woman. You can provide a message right there.
Talk to us, Deborah. Talk to us.
Thank you so much for your patronage.
She's had
Very much
amazing
appreciated.
comments all the way through. She's been wonderful.
Absolutely. She is absolutely incredible. I mean, just really, really a genuinely good person. Thank you so much, Deborah, for that. And Running Buddy with another $4.99. Missed opportunity to put a Wally Dark Ride in Disneyland's Tomorrowland. I know. It would be really, really amazing. It would be really, really cool if the company had vision. Maybe they would actually do that, but remember
if
who
they
we're
only
talking.
had a brain. Da, da, da.
Remember who we're talking about, unfortunately. But thank you so much for everybody who has donated to the channel. Very much appreciated. You guys are amazing. You guys are what make this whole enterprise happen. So thank you so much. We really wouldn't be here without you. Ron's video is probably in session right now, so we got to get right over there because he has worked very, very hard on it.
3 o'clock next Tuesday.
3 o'clock next Tuesday on T3PO Live. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed to the channel. Like the video if you haven't liked the video. And please go ahead and subscribe to all the news. That should be fun. Here we go. Yeah, we're going. Here we go.